We are live.
And there it is. We're live again. Blue Talk. Amplify your message for Friday.
It was Friday. You have to say it right.
What's that?
Friday.
Friday.
No. Friayay. So Friday.
Friday. I'm catching. I didn't have my volume turned up quite loud enough to hear Friday. It's Friday. They could all be that. Monday. I like Mondays because everything's still possible.
Monday is I don't even remember, but Tuesday is Taco Tuesday. Wednesday is, of course, Hump Day. Or if you watch Nailed It, then it's Wednesday. Then Thursday is actually Thursday. And Friday is Friday. Saturday is Catterday, because that's when the cats get their treats. And then it's Sunday.
Okay. Well, I'm out of the loop. All right. Let's get in the loop. I'm really excited today. Our first guest is somebody that we both know, which is pretty fun. I've met this lady in person several times, which is pretty cool.
Did you?
Yeah, I know. I'm so lucky. So let's kick things off on Blue Talk's Amplify Your Message. I am Coach Scott McDermott. I'm a personal trainer, and I coach people on health and nutrition. And this is the lovely Miss Laura Lake.
Oh, yeah, we don't really introduce ourselves, do we?
I know. I was realizing that yesterday. I'm like, we don't really introduce ourselves, but I did today. Laura helped you find your true message and all the good stuff about it.
I'm like, do you even know?
I do, but it's a lot of things.
Okay, just remember it this way. I elevate the way that you tell your story. Yes. And I do that through the lens of mental health and emotion, which is not the thing that you do and the results that you got. So fun story there.
I love it. Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right. I'm going to add Susan to the stream. Good morning.
Susan!
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Awesome.
I'm looking a little hazy.
It's
I don't know what's going on with that, but
you might need to do this to your camera.
Going on. There we go. That's a little better.
That looks good. It looks like you have a filter on. Good morning.
I have no gorgeous filter on because I was born with a gorgeous filter.
Right.
Nice.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
So see that, Susan, all of this week, well, not all of this week, most of this week, I have been playfully starting off our interviews with a question that I've been playing with for the last year or so. And here it is. So there's two different ways you can do it. Either you can choose 3 words that you would use to describe yourself, or, and we understand it's difficult sometimes, and if it's too difficult, then think about your ideal audience, the ideal people you want to surround yourself with, and 3 words that you would love for them to use to describe you.
Heart-centered, spirited, gifted.
Oh, look at her on the nose.
And those are the 3 words that I look for in my ideal clients.
You've thought about this.
See what I did there? I did a double entendre on you there.
Mm-hmm. No, because that was the pattern that we've been doing all week.
Okay.
The pattern is, how do they describe themselves, or how would they like to describe themselves? And how does that actually tie in to who they are as a human being, the work that they do, how they choose to express it? It's really fun and really interesting. So I'm glad that you did that right off the bat.
That's awesome. Well, Susan, tell us about yourself. What is it that makes you just excited about the world? How do you save the world? How do you make the world better? What do you do?
Yeah, so I kind of do what Laura said. I help people with their message, but I mean, we do it in different ways, right? And I empower women to stand in the power of their story, of their truth, and go from really where they are to where they want to be. And if that's on stage, then yes, I can help them with that. It's if that's sort of from here to make $1 million in 5 years, a year, I help them with that. So it's really about going from that, who are you? What is the story you're telling yourself? And how can I empower you to tell yourself a more powerful story? Because we stand in those stories.
Yeah.
So that's kind of me. I want to change the world one story at a time. I believe that we all have something to share with others. And if we're not sharing it, we're doing ourselves and the rest of the world a disservice.
Definitely.
And how did you get here, Susan? How did you get to the place where this is what you do?
Well, that's a bit of a journey, and there's lots of stories behind it. But the biggest one was in 2015. 15, I was laid off from a 17-year job career where I thought I was going to be for the rest of my life, right? I was going to retire from after, 30 years of tenure, like my dad did. I was going to retire and, live on the beach somewhere. Well, I'm on the Freedom 99 plan because I love what I do and I'm going to continue doing it until the day I die. Hopefully, God willing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was laid off from this 17-year career, downsized, no fault of my own.
Yeah.
And I was devastated. I was in that big state of shock, of grief, of what can I do now? Well, I can't do anything. I had that mindset that I can't start over. I can't go back to school. I can't work in the profit world because I was in not-for-profit. And I can't. And I got stuck in that story. The interesting thing is, though, years prior, when my daughter was born, and she's 27 now, so, we can all do the math there. She was born with a disability, and the doctors put that word can't in her world. And I said, my daughter can do whatever she wants to do, whatever she sets her mind to do. She can do it. And all of a sudden I realized if I could take it out of her world, surely I can take it out of mine. So I really started looking at what is the story that I'm telling myself? Why am I telling myself that story? And how can I tell a better story, move forward, move on, and then in turn help others with that? So that's really where it came from.
That's awesome.
Love that. And I love how it does tie into the mental health, because over the course of this week, we did mention that especially entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, they suffer more than anybody else that I know of from mental health issues. And with
mental
COVID
health.
happening,
Mental health is an interesting thing. And I mean, I don't want to go a lot into this year, but I have lived in a state of depression this year, worse than I ever have before, because you guys probably remember, the viewers might not, but the last time I was on the show, I talked about having a near-death experience, a life-saving surgery from a kidney issue. And I've taken the time, because I had no choice, to sit and reflect and really think about what is the story around this, right? Is it the story I'm going to tell and empower people? Not likely, but it's an experience I'm going to share because it was a powerful part of my life. And when you can't do anything other than, and literally I couldn't, right? It wasn't a choice. I just couldn't do anything other than sit and be comfortable and deal with the pain and take painkillers and rest. And Netflix is a bad thing. It can be, right? Sitting isolated in your home, it was like COVID all over again, which we really hadn't totally gotten out of that. And I slipped into a state of depression because I'm a caregiver and my whole life I've cared for others. Mm-hmm. But now I had to care for myself. And that was a challenge, right?
Yeah.
So fortunately, I was able to step out of that. But yeah, mental health is huge. Huge, right?
So how do you see that recent experience shifting your story moving forward?
I realized that, I'm going to try not to get emotional, but if anyone knows me, they know that's not going to happen. Right? I'm just going to get emotional. I realized that I get to create the story I want to experience. So if I want to create a story that my life sucks and I have to stay at home and I can't go outside and it's too cold and I'm in too much pain and there's strangers out there and I've got a social phobia and I want to stand in all that, that's what's going to happen, right? It's just going to happen. And so, interesting how this changes my story is really helping people look at what are the things that happen in your life and why do they happen, right? Everything happens for a reason. It's all very synchronistic. And it's not about analyzing why it's happening. It's about accepting the gifts and the teachings along the way, right? I learned that I had to sit in the silence and I didn't always like what I heard. And, my higher power's like, Susan, this is your chance to grow and rise and step beyond who, right? That's big. And so my story changes and elevates. Interesting. I spoke at Blue Talks in March. And when I spoke, I think I shared this with you guys, and I share it with all you guys. It was, I speak from my heart. I speak from stage.
Yes.
I speak online. Like, I'm comfortable speaking. It's what I was born to do. But being born to speak and being born to tell story in a certain way that's powerful and that can help others are two completely different things.
Yep.
And when my talk was over and I took my daughter and a couple of friends out for lunch, and I said to my daughter, "So what did you think?" She goes, "Yeah, Mom, you were great. You always are. You help people, and everyone loved you, and everyone knows you, and you're the amazing Susan Binnie." And everyone had a Susan Binnie experience. And it was great.
Aww.
But Mom, I have to ask, when are you going to tell your story? Right? And in that moment, I sunk into this, oh, what is my story? And oh, should I be telling that? And she looks at me and she says, Mom, it's that story you don't want to share with everyone else. It's that vulnerable piece. It's that one that wants to make you cry. It's the one that you help everyone else uncover. Oh, that story. Aren't I telling that? She said, no, you're talking about Angela. You're talking about me. You're talking about our stories. But how about your chronic pain since you were 18? How about being a single mom? How about living in the life of a victim because you felt that that's what life was all about? How about caring for others and not caring for yourself? And I'm like, yeah, okay, wait a minute. And then I looked around and she wasn't there anymore. I was telling myself that story. I was telling myself that's what I need to start sharing. And so,
yes.
yeah, so I'm on this birth of a journey into 2023 of, this is the Susan Binnie story. And this is how I was able to stand in my story. And how can I help you stand in yours?
Oh, this is so lovely because, Scott, this is the perfect example. Scott was the MC for my conference called the Solopreneur Conference, and it's helping solopreneurs to understand that there's not one way to do something. It's about figuring out you and how you like to express that. But through the work that I do, so I call BS on Know, Like, and Trust because I want to elevate the way that we do that. And so I use a formula called Courageous Connection. And really what that is it's exactly what you just mentioned. We can be really good speakers. We can have, a career of it. But really, those most transformational, most powerful stories are the ones that we don't want to tell. And this is where I come in, is I've got the background to be like, okay, let's do the healing behind it. Let's figure out the patterns and the emotional thread that ties all of your life stories that you want to share together so that it's always consistent with the message that you want to share, that you learn from that struggle moment. But that tends to be the missing piece. And I love that you shared that. You're like, wait, I or your daughter had that awareness to say, Mom, what about you? What about your story? Because you, Susan, are just as valuable as all those other stories.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that moment, right, as I've been going through all the moments, right? Even in this moment, it makes me appreciate that I've been through a lot of stuff. So have you, so has Scott, so has everyone on this planet. And it's what we choose to share when we choose to share it for the reason that we need to share it. And that's what the power is. And that's that stand. Even if you're going through by yourself at home, you're going through the worst story ever, right? I can't get out of bed. I feel like crap. Whatever that is, been there, done that, right? You really look at that and say, what is this about, right? Because it's Christmas time right now, you guys might be watching this anytime throughout the year, right? We got some Christmas lights going on there for Laura, but it might be June, right? And I say celebrate every day of your life. I just had a birthday recently and people were like, oh, Susan, happy birthday. And it's amazing. And la, la, la. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to celebrate me every day of my life because I'm lucky to be alive. And that's the story. And I'm sticking to it. But when I get up, especially around Christmas time, it's hard memories. It's memories of when I left my husband, of when I became a single mom, of when I was pregnant. And I packed up my house in the middle of the night, and all my Christmas, stuff got thrown in a box, and then I had to unpack it. So every year at Christmas when I decorate the tree, it's hard for me. But I can stay in that story. Oh my God, I hate Christmas. Or I can say, is it Christmas that I don't like? No.
Yeah.
It's how things happened. It's, what happened with me and my ex-husband. It's the grief. It's the loss. That's what I don't like. So now all of a sudden I've separated by standing in the power of that. I've separated. Is this Christmas or is this the loss? And is that a memory that's coming back? Christmas just happens to be that time of year.
Yep.
But we focus on the negative instead of focusing on the positive. I love Christmas morning, right? I get to open gifts. And if we're not exchanging gifts, I buy gifts for myself.
Me too.
Right? So I can open stuff, right? Because that's what, for me, Christmas morning is a magical time where Santa comes and the spirit of Christmas is always going to be there. Right? And so by separating that, and I had to tell myself that the other day. It's like, there's my tree standing and I'm waiting for my daughter to have the time to help decorate it. And here we are on the 9th of December. It should be done. Well, who said it should be done? Just because somebody else says it should be done doesn't mean I have to say it has to be done. Yeah. As long as it's up when my gift comes that I open and my tree is decorated, I'll be happy, right?
Exactly. That reminds me of the story that many people tell themselves about Mondays. Mondays are horrible. Mondays are stupid. Mondays are this, that, and the other thing. But if Monday was a person, that's what I like to do now is I'm like, what if we personify these stories that we tell ourselves? Like, what if money was a person? We talked about this earlier. What if my business was a person? How would they like to be treated? Would they like to be talked down to all the time? Of course not. So then really let's define what that actually means.
Yeah. I love it when you said that, if Monday was a person. It's so powerful. Like, can you imagine walking up to somebody first thing in the morning and go, hey, you suck and I hate you? How do you think they're going to respond?
Yeah.
So if that's how you start your Monday, you're already in trouble. And just like you said, Susan, Christmas is just Christmas. It's all the other things we layer on top of it. But that's us. That has nothing to do, in my world of coaching people with nutrition and health too. One of the things that I had to learn is that I thought junk food meant love, because when my dad came home from work, he brought junk food home because there was all kinds of other stuff going on. And that's how he expressed his love, apologized for the day before, whatever it was. He brought candy and cinnamon buns and cake and cookies and ice cream. So if I'm ever having a bad day, it's like, well, I know how to have a good day, ice cream. And that's just not true. But we have that association. And when you learn to recognize that association, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Now you're free from it.
Yeah.
Now you can respond instead of react.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that analogy about Monday. And of course, I've got something to say about the junk food too. Because Monday, for me, I look at it as a start.
Yeah.
And I get to start new every day. But Monday is a good day. And if I have a bad day on a Monday, geez, everyone around me, it's going to make their day worse. Right? Like if I get online and I post that, oh my God, it's Monday. Who's with me? Isn't this awful? Then you're just bringing down everybody. Right? Yep. Whereas if you're like, hey, it's Monday, smile with me. Right? Yeah. But I love that, turning it into a person. Because Scott, you're so right. If we say, oh, Monday, geez, I hate you so much. And you are so bad for me. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Huh. All of a sudden for me, when I said that, it's like that mirror effect comes into play.
Oh, yes.
Right now I'm telling myself I hate myself.
Yep.
And I'm not good enough. Right.
Yep.
And when you talk about the junk food, the story around that I have is, so I haven't tried, but I've lost 25 pounds since July.
Nice. Dropped. We like to say dropped, because if you lose something that's valuable, you want it back. So let's say drop.
Well, yeah, I released it.
Yes.
It's gone. Yes. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it really came from playing games on my phone. Okay, so now this is interesting because people have always said to me, Susan, that's a waste of time. And if you're playing games on your phone, you're wasting your time and you should be doing other things and la, la, la. Okay, for me, I have realized that playing games on my phone, whether I'm watching TV, whether I'm, laying in bed, regardless of what I'm doing, it's helping block my pain receptors. Because it's taking my mind off the pain.
Yeah.
It's taking my mind off the stress. It's taking my mind off those people I haven't cared for. It's taking my mind off of so many things, other people's stuff that I've been dealing with as a coach, right?
Yeah.
It takes my mind off of that the way food used to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I used to eat when I was younger because my mom would say, you go watch TV. I don't want to hear your story. It doesn't matter what you talk about. Just go. Well, Mom, can I have chips? Sure, go ahead. Can I drink Coke with that? Sure, go ahead. So Saturday mornings was cartoons, chips, and Coke. I'm like, what's wrong with my mother? How come I didn't have breakfast? Like, what happened? But it was her way of coping. And it was her way of saying, I need my time because I've worked all week. And Saturday morning is my time. And I didn't recognize that. And now that I can stand in the power of that and say, okay, does chips and pop work for me on a Saturday morning?
Mm-hmm.
No. So what works for me?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if it's playing games to block that pain so that I can go on with my day and I can get my brain fog a little less fogged, because that's been huge. I got COVID this year too. And you name it, it's happened. Right. And we can make excuses around anything. And I get on a coaching call and I'm so present with that person because I'm there for them. I get on a call like this and I'm so present for the call. But I get off of this. I get off of a coaching call and I go to talk to my husband and I'm like, do you think we can have that meal between breakfast and dinner? What's that called again? He goes, lunch? Right. Because the word won't come to me. But that's okay, right? You just live with what works for you. Yeah.
Well, there's a point too where you're right that like playing video games or something like that is a good choice because it's a chosen distraction. It's a replacement that's not harming you, it's helping you. And there's a place for that. Obviously there's the flip side. We talked about the other day about where that becomes an addiction and now that's a different thing. But
right.
It's funny you say that. I use color and puzzle games at night before I go to bed. I have my blue light filter on my phone so that it's not making my brain stay awake. But I play either Candy Crush or Royal Match or something like that because it's color and shape problem solving. Yeah. And there was a really cool study done way back in the 80s based on Tetris about people who couldn't sleep at night because of busy brain, anxiety and busy brain. And the study talked about how when your brain focuses on solving color and shape problems, it stops focusing on abstract problem solving, like that guy said that mean thing, or I got to fix that, or I got to do this, or I got your to-do list that's scrambling through your brain that won't let you rest. When you switch to colors and shape problem solving, that part of your brain goes quiet, and then you get really tired, and you just turn off the game and fall asleep. And I've been doing that now for probably 5 years, and it's fantastic. I play for 3 to 10 minutes, and I'm out like a light. Whereas before, I would lay in bed and count dots in the ceiling till 3 a.m. And so there's a time and a place for things.
Yeah, yeah. And thank you for that, because I didn't know why. I didn't know the psychology behind that. But Royal Match is one of the ones I do all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, Candy Crush, same thing. And it's you're right. You're still using your mind, right?
Yeah. For me, it's like my mind wants to go everywhere and solve all the problems, like all of the problems. Because as a kid, I thought it would be really cool that every time I laid down, I would never be bored. I could just solve problems in my head. I trained myself that way. So then after my accident, like everything was problem solving because sleep was too dangerous at that point. Mm-hmm. But for me, the games were about taking the overwhelm of my thoughts and just being able to focus on something which slows the momentum of everything else. And once my mind would finally get to the point where everything else was slowed or even stopped and I'm just focusing, that's when my mind would catch up with my body. My body was tired for like an hour. My mind was like, okay, we're ready. We're recognizing what the body is trying to tell us now.
Yeah. And what
And
a
it
beautiful story that is to stand in, right?
yeah.
To be able to figure out this works for me
Mm,
and nobody can tell me that I'm doing it wrong.
yeah. But
It's
mine
what
is
I
numbers, not
choose.
colors. I do
Yeah.
Sudokus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sudoku, something it's problem solving that's not
Yeah.
your world.
Yeah. It's
Right?
like simple enough, but
Yeah.
a little bit challenging that you do need to focus. But
Yeah, I mean, this is me showing my nerd, but it's kind of like Sauron's eye
yes.
looking for problems, and then all of a sudden there's a distraction, and the whole eye goes, what? And it's looking over at the distraction. Meanwhile, you go to bed. Right?
Mm-hmm. And what a wonderful analogy that is to our everyday life.
Yeah.
How we can choose, if we want to be distracted, or we can choose to focus with that big all-knowing eye, right? We choose to focus on this one thing to accomplish it, to get it done, so that all this other stuff isn't distracting us from putting it off and realizing, oh my God, an entire year has gone by. What have I done? What have I accomplished? Absolutely nothing, right?
Well, it's one of the challenges in our world now. There's infinite possibilities of doing things.
Yeah.
And doing too much is so easy to get caught in. You're doing 30 things poorly instead of one thing well.
Yeah. Yeah. And how many times do we get stuck in that story of, I have to do this? And then when we don't do it, we beat ourselves up because we didn't get it done. Okay. The only one that's telling you you have to do it is you.
Mm-hmm.
So if instead you change that and take that have to, need to out of there and say, I get to do this, right?
Yes.
I get to coach women and help them stand in the power of their story. That's what I get to do. That's what I'm choosing to do. Now, all of a sudden, I don't have to or need to do anything. I can just go with the flow of it all.
So what is it?
And then I don't.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and then I don't have to beat myself up, right?
So what does it look like to stand in the power of your story?
Well, it depends on how you define it. Okay. I define it a couple of different ways. Anytime I speak, I literally will stand in one spot and I stand in the power of what I'm speaking about. Right. So that's the actual literal standing in that power. Okay. I was going to change the stand in the power message because really it's standing in the power of your truth, your story, how it's affecting you, how it's helping or deterring you from what's happening in your life, right? Just like me standing in that power of the story of Christmas. It's not about Christmas. It's about grief and loss.
Yeah.
You know, all the time I say to my husband, so what do you want to do today? And he'll go, I don't know. And I'm like, well, no, seriously, what do you want to do? Well, I'm not sure. Well, how do you want to feel? What is the outcome? What do you want? He goes, well, you know, it's kind of a cold day. I'd like to just sit and catch up on that one movie, Netflix thing that we were watching. But okay, so let's stand in that. Stand in that power and say, today, this is what I'm doing. And I'm okay with that. I'm not wasting my time. I'm not, avoiding anything. Today, my choice is to stand in the power of the story that I am watching this show. And that's my truth today. And that's what's going to make me happy.
Yeah. That's a big, huge thing, Susan, isn't it? Like, there's so many parallels to this. I've had moments like that too, where like I'm working a lot, I'm doing a lot of different things, and once in a while I have this gap. And sometimes, and I'm getting a little better, I program them into my schedule now, where I'll say, and it literally says on my Google Calendar, it'll be a block of time, it'll say empty time. And during that empty time, and this is the key, I have permission to do nothing.
Yeah.
To do nothing useful. And I've had those moments where I sit on the couch with my dog and I turn on something on Netflix and I'm watching it and it wells up. you should be writing your book. You should be doing this. You should be fixing. You should be doing. You should be creating. You should be doing. And it's like, listen, I'm choosing not to. I don't have to right now. And isn't it great that I have this beautiful home, this nice couch, this wonderful dog, and a streaming service, and I can relax. I'm well fed. I'm sheltered. I'm cared for. The world isn't on fire. Nothing's going to happen bad. Yes, there are things I could be doing other than this. Okay, great. But just immersing and enjoying with permission time to just do something not useful instead of us always being useful, always maximizing every moment of every day. And, Gary Vaynerchuk, and get up, sleep 3 hours and then work for 7 and then get up and get your kids to school and you just chase after, you hustle. That's a little exhausting after a while. It's like,
Yeah. And it's that permission that helps you, and I could go so deep on story. I could go so deep on the standing and the power of it, but let's just really scratch that surface. And I love what you said, Scott, permission.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give myself permission today to play with my cats after this call and maybe take a nap this afternoon because I was up at 4 a.m. because one of them got sick, right? And I'm okay with that, right? I've chosen to go with the flow of December because I know January, I'm hot on the wheels of my business and getting clients and doing all that stuff, and that brings in another, like, it's such a domino effect, right? And that can distract me or domino me into whatever the word is, into the next thing. Or I can just stand in this moment. And this moment says, Laura asked me to define this. And for me today, I chose to do one main thing because I'm restricted. I've got sort of a 2-hour window of physical activity, of health, of sitting up straight, of grounding, of thinking with my brain, whatever that is. I've got 2 hours a day that I can do that right now. And it's progressively getting longer and longer. It started with about 10 minutes, right? And it's getting longer and longer. So for today, this is my big thing. I'll respond on social media to people. I'll do different things. But I gotta go get cat food, right? It's just weird little things. But that's my main thing. And if the rest of the day today evolves around the TV, a book, my phone, a game, it'll probably be a board game with my husband, right? But if my life today revolves around that, then that's today. And I'm going to think about all those things that I got going on in January. I'm going to think about those one thing at a time as I get into January, right?
And I think a big thing, Susan, that you've said here that's really critical is it's doing this stuff while standing in your power.
Yeah.
That's the critical piece because, and I think maybe people don't understand that, because if you tell your story from the perspective, poor me, and I'm a victim, and oh, my life is so hard, and please come and listen to my story. Everybody come and listen to my story. Come and listen to my story. Now you're just dragging everybody down into a pit. That's different. And oh, I deserve to watch Netflix and I deserve to sit on the couch. That's different. That's not standing in your power. That's the opposite. This is going, I'm doing all these amazing things, and for this period of time, I'm going to just let go. Or this is my story, and it was horrific and challenging and horrible, and this is what I've learned from it, and this is how I've grown from it. That's standing in your power. Now your story doesn't control you. You're using your story as a superpower. And that's how you reach people.
Yes. I call that going from the survivor mindset to the champion mindset.
What was the first one, Laura? The
survivor. So you have the victim mindset where it's all about woe is me and they're stuck in it.
Yeah.
And you have that next of I conquered it. So then it's all about the things that we did and the results that we got. And they're like, they're the ones that are constantly counting the days since something happened.
Right.
Or that kind of stuff.
It is, though. I just want to stop and pause here about that victim mentality.
Yes.
Okay. So for anyone out there that's listening to this, I want you to really hear this victim mentality. It's okay.
Yes.
Don't stay there.
Exactly.
Right? Because I got stories from when I was younger, and my brother said to me, you'll never be successful, you'll never be worth anything, you're a loser, you don't have any friends, la 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 la, like this story. And I held on to that all these years. And it's like when I was in school, I helped everyone and there was no one to help me. Well, of course they're not going to help me. They think I'm this powerful God that's helping them. I'm not asking them for help. So why would they help me? Wait a minute. I'm not asking for it. And I'm letting them take all of my power away.
Mm-hmm.
So that victim mentality, I lived in that role for 40 plus years of my life.
Yeah.
And you can't just turn it off.
Mhm.
But when you recognize, and I love what you said, Scott, when you recognize, what am I learning from this? Right? What did this teach me? Right? My surgery this year for my kidney, what it taught me was I don't want to die. I got too much left to do. Right?
Yes.
I don't want to waste my time. But it also taught me that everyone that I'm taking care of stopped needing me to take care of them on a daily a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed to look after them because, oh, woe is me, my life is crap, and I'm a caregiver and I have to look after them, right? And for all those caregivers out there, I mean, I know you've got to look after them, but you come first. Because if you can't look after you, you're not doing anyone a favor.
Put
right?
your own oxygen mask on first.
Absolutely.
Assisting others.
And I learned that big time this year. Like, what is my story? And am I strong enough today to step on a stage? Sure. Am I strong enough today to coach somebody through their story? Absolutely. But am I strong enough to do it all? No. I have to pace myself and I have to look at my gifts, right? Yeah.
Somebody explained relationships to me once. Again, I don't remember where, as each person being a chair. And the typical relationship that is the typical narrative is people are leaning on each other and together you make 100%. When in reality, what really needs to happen is each person showing up at 100%, which means all four legs, so that if something happens, planned or not, you can still stand on your own 2 feet, or if you're a chair, 4 legs. There is no tipping over because something has been taken away from you. So I'm seeing the same thing in your stories. You're learning, we're all learning to stand up in our power of ourselves on all 4 legs so that even if we have a little misstep and lose one of those legs, we're still generally sturdy on our own. But that doesn't mean that we also can't ask for help from others, because how are you supposed to sit at a table without table and other chairs and all of the friends around you?
Exactly. And if you enjoy just being one chair,
that's fine too.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But how much more fun are you going to have if you're playing musical
chairs
and you're switching chairs and you're having fun with each other, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that analogy. I love that so much because it's right. It's really a definition of standing in that power that I wouldn't have come up with. But that's a great, I mean, you can see a chair standing.
Yeah.
Right. And if one of the legs gets broken, is there somebody there to help lean?
Yeah.
Right. Or here, I can help because you're such an amazing, you're so strong. You're so like, I've got a hammer. Let's fix it. Let's help you. Right. Yeah. There's tools. Let's get you back on your feet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Susan, I know that you spoke about being on stage a lot. What is it about being on the stage that just pulls you into it?
Oh, there's so much. The energy is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I spoke at an event in California, and there was 250 plus people. I was invited to come and speak. I spoke about an experience, why they were there. They were there to support their children, actors, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And I spoke to them about having their dreams come true. And it was the experience. So what is the experience you want your kids to walk away with, right? Mm-hmm. My husband and I, we're going across Canada this year, I don't know what it's going to look like. We're starting here and we're going to end up on the East Coast.
Woo!
I don't know what the time frame is. I don't know. It's just going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And it's the experience that we have chosen. And when I explain that to people, the eyes that lit up, the people that nodded, the energy in the room, the buzz in the room. And when I was finished speaking, everyone stood up and clapped. And that had to have been the biggest group of people that stood up in unison, standing ovation. And I was like, just, and what went through me, I mean, there was a lot of energy. There was a lot of, oh my God, I'm amazing, la, la, la. But then I'm like, stop. It's not about me. And I said, I want you to look around. Every single person in this room can relate to you. And I hope you've learned something from me, and I hope you can learn something from your neighbor, because we're all here to make a difference, and we're all here to rise and grow. So it was that elevation of the energy of healing, of giving to each other, that really was like my, right? And I know that there'll be somebody that listens to me on this today or next week or next year that goes, I get her. I relate to her.
Yes.
And I might never know who that person is or what that did for that person. I mean, if I'm doing something for you, call me, like, let's chat. But just knowing that I'm here and I have that ability, and we all do, just stand in the power of our truth, of our story, be who we are, and make a difference in other people's lives. And that's why I do it.
So what if we took like the next 10, 15 seconds to just strike a pose? I'm sitting. We're all sitting. But wherever you are, I encourage you to stand up and to really just imagine this circle around you of that power, as Susan explained it today, and just to stand in that and allow yourself to feel that. So could you give us just a little bit of an explanation of what that might feel like, and then we'll just take 10 seconds and just allow ourselves to feel it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm gonna
You're gonna
stand.
stand up? Okay.
I'm gonna raise my desk and stand. And what I want everyone to do is, actually, my light's going weird on me, but what I want you to do is, I want you to stand right now, and I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think, right now I'm in my comfort zone. I'm happy here. I know what's going to happen. I know everything that's going to happen. I want you to envision it like a hula hoop, and I want you to kick it and step forward. You're now not in your comfort zone. I want you to breathe into that. I want you to stand in that power. And although it might be a little bit of scary and a little bit of afraid, I want you to know that nothing great happens unless you step one step out of your comfort zone and stand in the power of that truth and breathe it in. And remember this moment. Now, for those of you who aren't totally comfortable, step back into your comfort zone, breathe, and open your eyes. For those of you who are totally comfortable where you are, breathe, open your eyes, and what do you observe? What do you learn? That is the power of standing in your story, in your truth.
Thank you, Susan. We did a couple examples this week, and I felt that they were really powerful. So I wanted to make sure that people, especially those like me who are afraid sometimes, that they know it's good for you, but sometimes just practicing that discomfort is wonderful. So how do we find you?
SusanBinnie.com.
Mhm.
Susan Binnie on Facebook, Susan Binnie on LinkedIn, Susan Binnie on Instagram. Powerful Women Unite, Susan Binnie. As long as you know Susan Binnie, look me up on Google. I actually come up on that as well. And I didn't try, it just happened, right?
Nice.
When you be who you're supposed to be, it just is, right? SusanBinnie.com is under a bit of a renovation. It's sort of been the way it is for a long time. But there is ability to start your story journey on there if you're interested.
Ooh.
If any of that resonates with you, there's going to be some new downloads, some free stuff. And I've got a New Year's thing that's going to be happening too, where for $47, you're going to actually be able to walk through your story and really put together those main components, and then jump on a call with Laura, jump on a call with me, jump on a call with somebody who goes deeper into story, so that you're aligned with that, because that's the important part. Yeah.
I like to work with the people who feel like they have a whole life story and it starts with, and I was 5. I was like, no. You actually have 20 different stories. Let's find that emotional thread.
Yes.
How does it align? Yeah.
Yeah. What's the pattern and where does that go?
Yeah, because I love patterns. Oh my God, I love patterns so much. Thank you so much, Susan.
Oh,
This
you're
was
welcome.
lovely. And that whole visual of the hula hoop, because then we actually know like a size of circle, and I'm pretty sure most of us have kicked a hula hoop from a few times.
Right?
Yeah, that was powerful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm just trying to locate our next guest, but thank you very much. That was awesome, Susie, as always.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I appreciate you guys so much. And I love that you've, taken the reins for Corey and that you do this, and you're amazing. And it's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Susan. Have the most amazing day. I hope you experience continued improvements in health daily.
Thank you so much. See you all.
Bye. Well, just on cue, Sherry is in the backstage.
Oh,
so that's
good.
Fantastic.
Because I lost my image to tell me who was next.
All good.
I'm going to pull it up again.
So well, lovely interview with Susan. So now we get to switch gears, and I'm going to welcome our next guest onto the stage. Hello, Sherry.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you all?
Great. Still morning for me. I'm over here on the west side of the world.
Oh,
yeah, and my daughter's almost out of school, so we'll be walking in the middle of the next one.
Sherry, where have we found you in the world? I'm in Alberta, Canada, and I know that Laura's out in Nova Scotia. Where are you at?
I'm in Dallas, Texas area.
Oh, Dallas, Texas. That's where I want to live. Not even kidding. It seems a lot more fun and intelligent down there. I don't know why.
No, it gets very hot here. We had a long, hot summer this year.
Sure. True story. I just love how when the world went crazy, Texas was like, yeah, we're not with you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's a huge state. Let's just say that you can travel 8 hours driving and you'll still be in Texas.
Yeah. I've been down there a few times. Well, Sherry, tell us about yourself, who you are and how you make the world amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. So yeah, I'm Sherry Bucklybrown. I have been in the Dallas, Texas area for like 30 years. I feel like I'm in my third phase of my life. I am, so I am a certified flourishing life coach and a leadership and professional development coach. I'm now stepping into my platform of being an author and a speaker in 2023. I'm excited about that. And I've been in corporate America. I have leadership experience in corporate America. I've been doing that for 30 years, but I have over 20 years of leadership experience. So I want to take all of that and, be of service and just be able to give back to the world. I just been through so much in my life and seen so much happen that, it's time for me to be here at the space.
Own it. Step into that power.
Yes. Yeah, not getting any younger. Let's just say that.
It's all good. You can rule the world in a year, can't you?
Yeah. Yeah, let's make it happen. So that's why I'm really excited to be here. I got a chance to meet Corey, and so when he said that this opportunity presented itself, I was like, well, yeah, let me get on and kind of give a little bit about, my life and kind of what I've gone through and see if I could empower and encourage others to continue on.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. What makes you so excited to empower and encourage others? What is it about others standing in that power and allowing themselves to be in that space makes you happy?
Yeah, for sure. So I have everyone has a story, right? And so everyone has a story, and I have many, many stories about things that's happened to me in my life, starting from when I was 12 years old. And so I'm taking all of those experiences. I've been through, I've seen my family members die from heart disease and cancer. My mom was murdered when I was 12. I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And so I have seen so many things that has really, what's the word?
Been difficult.
Yeah, like difficult situations that I've had to go through, but still there's something I think that's just inside of me that won't let me quit. So I grew up in the Midwest. I'm originally from Wisconsin. And so I was there till when my mom passed 12 years old. And from there, the decision was made. There was 5 kids and the decision was made. Okay, so, we have these 5 kids, with one of them being a senior in high school and the other, my sister, being in 11th grade. What are we going to do with these 3 younger kids, right? So my grandmother was like, well, who lived in Mississippi now, we traveled to Mississippi every year. My mom was my grandmother's heart. And so, of course, we would travel to Mississippi every year. And of course, we knew her as grandmom and all that. So, with teenagers, it's really hard to, what are you going to do with 3 other teenagers? Because it was me and my other 2 brothers. So the decision was made to send us to Mississippi, which was another life-changing, altering experience. So you go from, being a family to moving to Mississippi with a grandmother who you've never lived with before, to a school in an environment that you've never been a part of before, right? And you're grieving on top of all that. Yeah. And so, so that whole scenario, all those years of things that I kind of went through and had to get back up on my feet. And then I, tried to find my way, working odd ins and odd jobs. And I moved from there. And when I graduated, I was like, okay, so let me just go ahead and get my 2-year degree, or get a degree, period. So I started with a junior college and I ended up getting a 2-year degree. But, money situation, my grandmother was on a fixed income. And so she had taken in not only us before, but, other grandkids. And when I tell you, like, she is really like my hero because of her strength and the ability to be able to pick up the pieces and go on. And I think that is part of what's in me as well. She didn't have to take in 3 broken teenagers who were angry and grieving, but she did. She went ahead and on a fixed income, like her check that she would get from Social Security was probably less than $400 a month. Right. Okay. So then she would get our little check, which was probably $300 a kid, which was, $900 plus her $300. So, and I would just see her walk up and down the highway going to the grocery store. She never learned how to drive, but she would she grew her own. She had her own garden. She just made ends meet. And so I, when she passed, I saw her take her last breath, which was like very interesting. If you've never experienced it before, it's I don't even know, it's life changing, it's life altering. So I ended up moving to Dallas. So I've been in Dallas for like 30 years. And I moved to Dallas by myself. I literally was like, I cannot make a living in Mississippi, at least the kind of living that I wanted to make for myself. I cannot get up on my feet in Mississippi because of the racism that still existed there. Like literally, when I moved with my grandmother, the schools were still paddling kids. There was a store that had a white side and a black side, and it was still literally like that. And I was like, oh my God, like this. So from Midwest to that was, I don't know. It's just, it impacts you, right? No matter how you look at it. So I moved to Dallas by myself. I worked 3 jobs to try and get up on my feet. And I remember crying one time, telling my sister, oh my God, I don't think I could do this, because she was still in Wisconsin. And I was like, I don't think I could do this. And she was like, oh yeah, you can do it. Just, continue to put one foot in front of the other. And I kept pushing, and I finally got on in a Fortune 500 company. One of my girlfriends recommended me. And that's when I started to just say, okay, let me finish my degree. I never want anyone else to use the fact that I don't have my degree as a reason for them not hiring me.
Yeah.
So I let the companies, but I also said, I was smart enough to say, I'm never going to get in debt again, because at that junior college, I think I must have gotten a loan for $5,000 or $1,000, but I kept deferring it, right? Because I was like, I can't pay this back, right? I'm working odds and ends jobs, minimum wage, and so I was like, I'm never going to have another debt again, because by the time I kept deferring, it ended up being like $10,000 plus or whatever, which is a lot to pay back when you're only paying maybe $184 a month or something like that. It took me years to pay that back. And so when I finally got on a corporate company, they had a tuition reimbursement, and how much ever they gave me for that year, that's what I used to continue to take my courses until I finished my degree. I did not go over that maximum. If it was $2,000, that's what I did. I was like, I'm not, and it took me years to finish my bachelor's. And I did the same thing for my master's, and I let companies pay for it because I was like, I'm never getting in debt again. So, just that. And in between, things, happened. My sister passed from a heart attack. And I took her 2 boys in. And so one of them was 20, the other one was 12. And it's really, really odd how my youngest nephew's life and my life paths kind of intersected. You know what I mean? Like, his mom passed, his dad had passed. His dad and my sister were no longer together, but his dad had passed a year probably before my sister passed. And then my sister passed. And so the decision, me and my brothers got together. I'm the baby of the family, although I don't feel like it, but I am.
Yeah.
And so me and my brothers got together. We were like, okay, so what do we do? And there was something like, me and my sister had talked about what if anything ever happens. I don't have kids, but if anything ever happens, would we want each other to take their kids? And I don't even know how that conversation came about, but we said yes. I was like, yeah, you take my child and I'll take yours. And so I was like, and that was one of them. But the other part was, I knew I didn't want the streets to get my nephews in Wisconsin. And I knew that I would probably, my oldest brother worked offshore. So he was 2 weeks on and 2 weeks off. So he couldn't do it, right? He wouldn't be there. They'd run rampant. My brother who was in Wisconsin, who was married, who had a house, I felt like he would just probably let my nephews run, crazy. I mean, he would be too lenient. Mm-hmm. And then my youngest brother wasn't in a position to be able to do it. So I was like, okay, let me just go ahead and bring them here. And I was able to do that. And it changed my life because I was single. I was trying to climb the corporate ladder. I was working for IBM at the time. I was trying to climb the corporate ladder. And I was wanting to move to the DC area. But after all of that happened, because so much had happened between this time, I had lost my grandmother, my mom, my grandmother, and now my sister. And my sister was my only sister. But literally, I didn't think I was going to survive my sister passing. Like, that was the full circle that almost took me out, to be honest with you. I didn't think, I grieved so hard. I didn't think I'd ever come back. If that makes sense. I felt like, and now I understand how people get to the point where they give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It reminds me when I was younger too. I felt the same thing of you get to that point. And I described it in 2 different ways because I've been to that point a few times. When I was younger and I tried, it's because I felt like I wasn't connected in the moment. When I was older, I didn't try because I finally felt somewhat connected to something that held me here. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that describes your situation too, but I'm guessing that the kids, was there more than one kid or just the one boy?
So yeah, there was 2. There was one. My oldest nephew was 20. My sister had him young, and so my mom would have ended up probably raising him if she had lived. So when my sister was in 11th grade, she had like a 1-year-old, 1.5-year-old, and so I brought both of them because I knew my oldest nephew needed some guidance too, because he was still living with my sister, right? So I felt like he needed some guidance, and then the 12-year-old, of course, needed guidance. But then the oldest came to Dallas, and he passed at like 37 from heart disease. So now it's just myself, my oldest brother, I'm the baby, and then my nephew in my immediate family that's left. But here's the thing: like, I never had kids, and I always, I felt like I'd be a mom someday. But medical situations happened, and I wasn't able to have kids. And I used to pray this prayer: Lord, please be able to let me make a difference in somebody's life. Now, this was before all of this happened. When I lived with my grandmother, I was in a back room that she had built onto her house. And because I was still grieving for my mom, I spent a lot of time by myself, and I think I just became really independent. But I would pray that prayer. But who knew it was going to be my nephew, right? Who knew this situation? Who knew I didn't have kids, and now I was going to have an opportunity to be a stand-in aunt, mom, for someone, to be able to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And it's just, it's just, I don't know, things, the universe goes around in circles. And so, yeah.
It does.
It's so powerful. Sorry, I was going to say, it's so powerful that people like you share their stories. We were talking about it earlier today. Like it's amazing. It's so easy to look at you and go, oh, Sherry, she's very successful. She's a beautiful lady. Everything's great. How wonderful. You've just arrived here. And then we hear your story, and it's just like, holy cow. I mean, there's so many pieces here that are just inspiring and amazing and incredible. And I love that you're becoming a speaker and that you are a coach, and you get to use those pieces to inspire people to never quit, never give up, just keep going. And wow, I'm just blown away in the greatest way. And I have to say too, I'm really sad whenever I hear that racism is still a thing. I'm like, are we not over that yet? Can't we? It still baffles me. I live up in Canada, and I know it's here too, but I think it's less than it is maybe down south. I remember going to Texas actually once for a software course, and because I was opening my gym, and I had to go to learn how to use the software that was going to do our content management and all that kind of stuff. And I went to the gym for workout. I said, oh, I'm going to go down to Galveston Island. The guy's like, y'all don't want to go down there. I was like, why not? It was, well, it's the annual meeting of the Kappa Delta Hoofa, I don't know, some fraternity or something. And I was like, okay, so what? He says, well, they're all black people. And I was like, okay. Like, I just didn't get it. I was like, why would I care about that? And he says, y'all don't want to go down there. And I was like, okay. And I got my rental car and I drove to Galveston Island. I just wanted to see the ocean. Never seen the ocean.
Right.
And I drove down there. And as I come into the town, the whole feeling is just gross. It's like, oh, what? Because it was tense, and I thought, whatever. And I parked the car and I started walking towards the beach. And I'm walking along, and pretty soon there's a group of people behind me, 10, 12 people or whatever. And I can hear them talking about me, and it didn't sound friendly or whatever, but I didn't know what it was. And this gentleman comes up to me and he goes, hey boy, what are you doing here? And I said, I just wanted to see the beach. He said, what do you mean see the beach? I said, well, I'm from Canada, or I've never seen the beach before, never seen the ocean before. He goes, where are you from? I said, I'm from Canada. He goes, and he turns around and he goes, hey, Canadian, y'all, it's all right. And then they all surrounded me. We had like the greatest chat, and we walked down to the beach, and they pointed out some stuff and taught me some things about the ocean, and we wandered around for a while, and then they headed off on their way, and it was a beautiful, wonderful thing. But I really felt that polarity while I was there.
Yeah.
And as I walked back to my car, I felt scared for a while because not everybody had talked to me and knew me. They were just seeing the one aspect. And I just felt really sad that still exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I keep hoping it's going away.
Me too.
That's where we're headed.
Me too.
Something we all have to work on.
Yeah.
I mean, even in corporate America, like I've been in leadership, and I've seen like the salaries of the men versus the women, and it's still, 80% men make 15% more than women. And when you like calculate that over the years, it's still a real thing. And I'm like, when is that ever going to change? Like, what do we need to do to stop the madness?
Yeah, exactly. Because it needs to be about the value you give to the world, right? Whether it's work, whether it's like you come up to me and you're a human being. If you're a good human being, you're a good human being. Your skin tone has no bearing on anything.
Agreed.
If you're a good employee and you do a great job, your gender should have nothing to do with anything. Fascinating.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's
I agree.
people like us that are going to fix it, I believe.
That's right. That's right. We band together. We are powerful. Get out of the way.
That's right.
So
And
Sherry, what I really want to know is how, I know your story is intense and I'm so appreciative of you sharing. And I know it's not all of it, but even just that little piece of it. How do you feel that experience has elevated the way that you like to lead or help people lead?
Yeah. So it's really, I managed a team. I was in IT, so I managed a team of, they're called Scrum Masters, in corporate America. And so I ask myself, what is it about me that people like? If I stood in front of a room and I had a conversation with people follow me. And so I even asked my team that. I was like, you should ask yourself, if you stand in front of a room, will people follow you? And what I found out, to be honest with you, is when I was placed in the role, I didn't know anything about, like, it's called Agile. I didn't know anything about that particular way of delivering. And so I had to like jump in and I'm harder probably on myself than anybody could be, but I had to jump in and get in the trenches. But what happened was 90% of leadership, in my opinion, is the people skills. You can learn the rest. If you can learn it. If you're not a people person, if you don't believe in your team and treat them like they wish to be treated, which is the one thing my grandmother always told me, treat people like you wish to be treated. And to be honest with you, that's how I've always gone in when it came to leading my team. And I have gotten so much feedback around, you're the best manager I ever had. And I think I shouldn't say it's funny. It is so weird to me because I'm not doing anything special. To me, I'm not. I am just simply treating them like I wish to be treated. I'm simply listening to them and I'm meeting them where they are.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it, each person as themselves. And so it's allowed me to be really successful in every one of the leadership roles that I've been in. Yes. So I think it's the people skills, and you learn the rest. You can learn a job. You can learn whatever product line that you're supporting, whatever that looks like, whatever, you're supporting, you can learn that piece of it. But if you don't have the people skills and the ability to want to know who they are, you're never going to be successful.
We mentioned that on Tuesday, and I was picking on Scotty at the time because we were on the conversation of, what we appreciate about other people, and that being a huge part of the value that we bring. And you were talking about how you care and treat people like human beings. I was like, Scotty, that is one of the things that makes you amazing, because you do this thing that many people don't do, and it's called caring about the other person.
Right.
It's so rare in a business setting to actually treat human beings like human beings. And it shouldn't be that way.
I know, it baffles me.
Yeah. And I get it too sometimes. For 18 years, I ran a 15,000 square foot gym. I had 27 staff and 900 gym members. So I was with a lot of people all the time. And it can be hard sometimes. There's a vulnerability in caring about people because you get hurt a lot.
Agree.
Right? Because there are people that just take advantage of that. And then they make it your fault when it doesn't work somehow. Right. And so people get a little jaded and build up a skeleton around themselves. So I understand that too, but yeah, I don't know. I still keep leading with my heart.
Yeah. And those are the people, to me, I feel like, there's always going to be that other group of people. Right. But the one thing they'll say about me is that I'm fair and I'm firm. And as long as you, treat me with respect, and I tell them, like, sometimes it's not what you say. It's like literally how you say it. You could tell me, I shouldn't say this, but I have a booger in my nose, right? Right. Or my breath, right? You could give me a mint, or you could just be like, oh my God, girl, like, oh, what did you have for lunch? So It depends. Like, are you giving me a mint, or are you just like blurting it out like, oh, do something about that? but still, even either way for me, I receive feedback. No matter how people may say it to me. Now, yeah, can my feelings get hurt? Absolutely. I'm not that strong. I mean, I'm not made of steel.
No.
I've been through the trenches, but I'm not like the bridge, right? That you can just walk all over. But yeah, it's how you say things to people, whether or not they will receive it. And so I always told my team the same thing, which is how, that's what, here's the thing where I'm going into coaching, which is literacy. I said to myself, I have struggled for years to figure out what my purpose-driven life is supposed to be, given everything that I've gone through, and still saying, okay, let me treat people like I wish to be. And everybody, all my friends and family would ask me for advice and come to me for opinion about anything. It could be like, let me ask you something, Sherry. Here's my situation. And I'm always there to listen to them and like give them my feedback, unbiased or whatever. And so I was like, why do people come to me and ask me everything? They think I know everything. And just, I would ask myself that, like, what? They think I know everything?
No, it's a feeling.
And so I kept saying, what is my purpose driven? I have struggled with that for years. And it finally just like literally hit me. Girl, you've been doing it forever. You've been in a leadership role. Your team loves you. People come to you all the time. And it's like, you've been doing it all this time. What is wrong with you?
I'm going to say that again. What is wrong with you? I love that. Just have that on repeat on my phone. All of those times that I self-doubt, just Sherry saying, what is wrong with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm having to ask my own self that. So that's why I'm here right now. It's like, I feel like I'm in my third phase of my life. I was in Wisconsin, then my mom and all that situation. So I'm in this third phase of my life where I'm like, you know what? I'm about living my best life. Yeah. And if anybody can get with that, no excuses for me. I'm in my third phase. I'm going to live the rest of my years, how many they are on this earth, being my best self. And if you come with drama or negativity in my space, then I have to go. Like I remove myself from the situation because I just want to be happy. I've gone through enough.
I had to make sure that I got your words correct. So you said that you were described as firm and fair. When you said that, the first thing that popped into my head was that means that you were safe and consistent.
Yes.
Like, so in those times where I'm anxious or I'm looking for advice and I would go to Sherry, I can count on you to be that safe and consistent place versus maybe somewhere else where I'm asking for advice and they might have the right answer. But if they're not safe and if they're not consistent, if I can't count on that, you're actually deterring me.
Right. Exactly. Like, are you really leading? Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes I had to give hard feedback. And they had feedback from them was like, yeah, you gave me that feedback and I didn't like it. But I had to like look at it and say, is it true about myself? And I do the same thing for myself. I do self-reflect all the time. Maybe probably more than I should when it comes to myself. But I'm learning to give myself grace. I'm learning to give myself grace because, you have to. And I'm learning to start to live in the moment without I'm such a planner because it keeps my stress. It keeps my stress level down. I drive my husband crazy and the whole family's like, okay, so we're taking a trip next year, whatever that is.
Got all my spreadsheets with all the locations, the dates,
paid in advance.
Get it.
One of the things I love about you, Sherry, and this is a big list, but it's amazing. And I don't know where I heard this a long time ago, but it's a comparative. Like, life often gives us hot water, and it's how you deal with it. So some people handle hot water like a piece of pasta. They get all mushy and useless. And some people handle hot water like an egg. They get rigid and firm and solid, and you can't even get to the heart anymore. And some people handle hot water like tea. They just get stronger. And I see you like a cup of tea. Like you've been through things that most people could never, but you just got stronger. And I'm in awe of that. And I'm thrilled that you've become a coach and being a speaker because the world needs people that are strong and have been through some crazy things. You talked about losing your sister. My mom passed away in April, and I held her hand as she passed, and it's one of the most profound and life-changing and powerful things, like you said.
Yeah.
What struck me the most is after she left, and I looked at that empty shell laying on that hospital bed. That was no longer my mom.
Yeah.
It didn't look like my mom anymore. That was not my mom. My mom had left.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was huge, life-changing.
Yeah.
But to lose your mom through circumstances that are awful, to deal with that as a child and then be ripped from your home and put somewhere else. Now you're not only somewhere else in a new school, separated from your family, mom's gone, under awful circumstances. Now you're in a new school, and we all know high school kids are super gracious and generous and supportive.
Lovely.
Right? I mean, you are so strong.
Thank you.
Where you've come from there and what you've made out of all that, and to be able to share your struggles is so powerful. And I just love that that's where you're at.
Thank you, Scotty. I appreciate that.
It's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Yeah.
So how do people work with you? Do you do like courses or speeches or one-on-one or online, or what is it like to work with you? Because I'm sure there's people like, I want to talk to Sherry. She's amazing.
Yeah. So right now I'm currently, like I said, I'm coming onto my platform. So I do have a website. It's www.sherrybucklybrown.com.
Okay.
And so you can contact me there. I'm doing one-on-one sessions, and at some point I'm going to put together a group workshop and just kind of go from there. I'm so looking forward to 2023 and building, here's what I feel like. For me not to share what happened in my life to empower and encourage someone else would be a disservice to my mom, to be honest with you, and my grandmother who went through so much. Like, I have to honor that. And the fact that I'm still standing and I've lost all of my three siblings, the middle three siblings, I can't, even the book that I'm writing, I was like, Sherry, like, you get yourself together. Like, you got to share this with somebody, because if I can empower, like, my team and other people that keep coming to me, as there's something there. So I have to do this. And yeah, I'm excited. That's why I was excited to be able to have this conversation with you guys today as well.
That means that I have a wonderful question. Since you're just kind of getting started, you're gaining some momentum. Sherry, what would be crazy cool? I don't mean realistic. I don't mean you need everything to align. What would be crazy cool to happen for you in 2023?
Oh my God.
Because then we have all the listeners who are thinking about it now.
Yeah. So what would be crazy cool crazy cool is for me to be able to speak all over the world and finish my book so that people understand, like, really where I came from. But yeah, to be able to speak and touch lives. And what I really love is, because it took me so long to figure out what my purpose-driven life is if I can help like one person in 2023 to figure out, why am I stuck? Or why can't I figure out, like, all of these things that people, like, what took me so long, if I could get them to get through it in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, one person, two people, I will be living in my purpose.
I love that. It was explained to me once, and I can't remember where. I wish I could remember where all of these references come from. But somebody explained purpose to me once as like an onion. So instead of going out and searching the world necessarily for your purpose, it's a lot about looking in and uncovering who you are. It's not looking, it's uncovering. So it's like all these different layers. And as you uncover more layers, you get to see more of what that purpose is.
Right.
And express it in different ways. So if today you're like, oh, I solved the riddle, I know exactly what my purpose is, it doesn't look the same today as it will next week, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
Right.
As we evolve, it's always evolving. So I love that.
Reinventing. I reinvented myself so many times. As a matter of fact, I'm now still reinventing myself. Like, you have to reinvent yourself. If one thing doesn't work, then you need to get yourself together. And it's like, okay, well, let me try something else. It doesn't mean you failed. It just means like, you know what, this is not working for me. I need to like figure out what works for me and let me reinvent myself. I've started over completely because I quit a job and I was like, I can't take this anymore. I'm miserable. Right. So I leave the job and I figure out the next opportunity, which was I was owning my own business. And I was like, as soon as I got in that business, I was like, I hate it. Now I leave a decent paying job to go run my own business. And when I get into it, I was like, oh my God, what did I do? I had a safety net, even though I hated the job, I had a safety net. So then I'm out on my own. So I literally had to go back to corporate America, take a side, like I took a $30,000 pay cut. I had to fight my way back to, over the 6-figure mark because it was a decision I made, but I refused to like stay there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, decisions aren't permanent and life is in flow. So if something isn't working, stop it.
Yes. The sooner the better.
Right? Just stop doing that. I ran a 15,000 square foot gym, like I said, for 18 years. And in 2020, when the world went nuts and they shut us all down, it took me 2 days to make the decision of, okay, I'm done with this. This is not coming back around. This isn't 14 days to flatten anything. This is longer term. This is going to be a couple years. We've opened the genie out of the box. This is a problem. And I was like, at first I was going to fight and dig and suffer and be a martyr. And then I was like, nope, I'm done. And I just stopped and I sold off all my equipment. And I was like, okay, now what are you going to do? I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. But like Laura said, I get to do what I love now. And I get to speak on stage and I get to inspire people and coach people and do podcast stuff. And I'm writing a book as well. So we have a lot of things in common. Yeah. And it's the greatest gift to start over and create your life on purpose.
Yes.
Rather than just taking what comes because, I hate it, but I'm just going to suffer through. No, stop it.
Yeah. Oh. So many people I've run across that they hate what they do. Absolutely hate it. But because they have bills and kids and car notes and they stay stuck. And I'm like,
yeah. And I get it. Like sometimes work is work.
Yeah.
Even best work, sometimes work is work.
Yeah.
There's a period where you got to do what you got to do. And sometimes it's not always perfect, but
yeah.
But with an eye towards, okay, if my life was amazing, what would it look like? And then just keep nudging closer to that.
Yes.
Because it's worth it.
It is. Keep waking up and keep putting one foot in front of the other. It may take you years, right? It's okay. And especially if you're complaining about it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all know one of those. At least one of those.
Like, really?
Exhausting.
How many years are you going to complain about this? Like, get it together. Especially if you're complaining for years and you're still in the same spot. Yeah. Come on.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Come on.
If there was a message that you need people to understand about the work that you do with leadership, what would that be?
I would say invest in yourself and don't take no for an answer. And I will also say, make sure you know your skill set, because and get a mentor, to be honest, to get a mentor, because those are the things that's going to take you to the next level. Some people stay in jobs for 20, 30 years. I'm not a firm believer in that. At 5 years, I get antsy, and at 10 years, I'm like, oh. So I would just say continue to move around, even if it's in the same company, right? Move around to different companies. Only thing it does is it continues to build your skill set. Mm-hmm. But you have to ask for what you want, and you have to get yourself a mentor, and never sell yourself short, because everybody has an opinion, and you could have a bad manager, or you could have a manager that's not interested in helping you to grow. But if I guess I took all of the information that was given to me and didn't hold my own self accountable, I would still be in situations. I could be at a completely different place than now. So you have to, especially women, I think too. I think we have to ask for what we want, and we have to show up at the tables sometimes. I was in so many meetings where I was the only Black woman for years in meetings, and I was like,
Again.
yeah, like, but what I found, managing women is that I empower my team. I was like, listen, if that's what you want, like, go for it. Go have some informational interviews with some people and find out what they're doing. You don't have to ask for anything at that time, but you can at least find out, well, what is your company doing? What projects are you working on? And, what do you foresee coming down the pipeline? Look, those type of conversations you should be having no matter what. And keep moving. Just keep, every couple of years, if you're in the same job, in the same role, and nothing's happened, move around.
Yeah, if you don't love it,
yeah,
it's time to change.
Yeah, change is good.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable sometimes, but it's good.
And I think sometimes you have to find the love in it, but it's, people think when we say stuff like that, we say do what you love, and they say, well, I love to sit around and watch Netflix and eat chips.
That doesn't get you fired up.
That's a whole different thing.
No, yeah.
Really, that's not a skill set.
That's not what we're talking about. Do what you love. I like to play video games. I want to get paid to give video games. Okay, then you need to learn how to design them and develop them.
That's my daughter. Right? She's like, I want to be a YouTuber so that I can play video games and then share. Because every day she comes up to me, she's like, guess what's new in Fortnite today? Like,
my 10-year-old is the same way.
I'm not as interested.
I want to be a YouTuber. I want to be. I'm like,
find out what goes on the back end of how does those people, like, really, who's putting those together. Find out something. There's like so many careers that you could have, and I think people get stuck on this career and that career or my title, and there's so many other ways to make money. Of course, the young generation does, like, I want to be an influencer.
Of course, yeah, but they're like
crazy fun redhead from the East Coast.
Yeah. But it's funny too. You try to help them understand things like, oh, I want to be a Hollywood actor. Like they'll name like the number one guy. I don't even know who's number one in Hollywood anymore, but whatever. I want to be Denzel Washington. I'll be Tom Cruise. I want to be, doesn't matter. Great. Do you know how long it took them to get there and how hard they had to work? That didn't just happen.
Right.
My son, we wanted for a Halloween costume this year. He wanted to be Sauron from Lord of the Rings. Big complicated thing. He's like, Dad, I watched a YouTube video, and it's a 3-minute video. I'm like, they paused the video and worked on that for a week, and then started the video and worked on it for a week and started like it didn't take 5 minutes to build that costume, right?
Yeah,
we built it. And it did take 10 days, but anyway, I think kids, they see these rich influencers and think, oh, it's easy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start a YouTube channel and I'm gonna have a Ferrari next week.
No,
probably not.
Definitely, it's definitely different than when I grew up like that.
Yes.
It could happen.
You did give us your website, SherryBucklybrown.com.
Yeah.
Are you also on social media as well? Like, how do we find you there?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn as well, under Sherry Buckley Brown as well. I'm going to be getting a new business webpage, but yeah, they can find me there as well on Instagram and on Facebook, and I'm on LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get back into LinkedIn. Trying.
Yes.
I don't understand LinkedIn. I'll say, Sherry, I've got a few favorite quotes. One of my favorite ones is actually by Babe Ruth, who's a big American baseball player. So if I say, who's Babe Ruth? What did he do?
Baseball. He was a hitter, a home run hitter.
Yeah. Home run hitter, right? He held the home run record for
but he actually
for 42 years he had the most home runs.
Yeah.
But what people also don't understand is he also held the strikeout record.
Yes.
He had the most strikeouts of anybody. And his average actually was terrible, but he was willing to swing at the ball every time, and he was willing to swing for the fences. I'm not a baseball guy, but what I love that Babe Ruth said, he says, it's hard to beat a person that never gives up. And I feel like that's all three of us, but you for sure, Sherry. It's hard to beat a person that never gives up.
It's like one of those balloon clowns with the weights on the bottom. You just punch it down and it slams back.
Right. Stop it.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is in our last few seconds here. This has been amazing, Sherry. I've loved meeting you. You have such an incredible story, and I'm so happy that you're sharing it with the world in the sense of a book and doing speeches and being a coach. I think you're going to just absolutely and profoundly changed the world.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate both of you guys, Scotty and Laura. And thank you for having me on here. I hope you guys have a great holiday season.
You too.
I know I'm quite dressed up. I was like,
I love it.
I am choosing to celebrate and celebrate more than usual because I just want to choose joy.
Yes.
Because I can. Like, screw everything else.
Yes. Yeah. Who wants to be miserable?
Exactly.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Bye.
Awesome. Take care, Sherry. Have an amazing day.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's like a really up and down day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, shake it off. I shake it off.
It's kind of the fun part about this whole Blue Talks Amplify Your Message, working with Corey Poirier. It's a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. It's amazing, and some of them are just delicious.
Mine are lactose-free chocolates, and none of those ones with cream in them.
Fair enough. There's a few things worse, and I don't know if this is a thing anymore, but I remember when I was a kid, the worst thing was when you got, and it used to be Black Magic, was the box of chocolates that you got, or Pot of Gold. Those were the two, right?
Yes.
And somebody threw away the instruction sheet.
Oh my God.
And then you're just guessing.
No.
Yeah. It's the worst.
We had them memorized at one point because you'd get like the same style box every year, and you knew no matter which box it was, the nut ones are always like right off of the center. And then the fudge ones are like right off of those, and the caramels are in the corners.
Oh, I know what the square caramels with the two schnoogie dots on them. Those are, yeah, anyway. All right, let's bring on our next amazing guest. Let's welcome to the stage Marcela.
Oh, wow.
Hello, talking about delicious and chocolate. Here am I.
Perfect.
Wow.
Lovely to be in this space. Thank you so much, Scott and Laura.
Okay. I'm loving those wings.
Yeah. Oops. Wow. 1 second. Sorry, I'm playing with the button trying to improve something, and I hit the wrong thing. There we go. I'm just going to make your mic a little bit louder for us, is what I was trying to do.
Okay. Please do what you can from your end, because my laptop, the screen has broken. So I have a huge TV in front of me as my monitor.
Oh, good.
Right.
It's awesome. When I don't push the wrong button, I have the power to make your microphone work better, and I did. And so now you sound even clearer, which is fantastic. And yes, as Laura said, I love the wings.
So kind. Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. The wings behind you were fun. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
Well, they are fun, but they do represent having my late husband in heaven. So for me, he had put these wings up probably 2 months before he passed away. And it's just like he has my back, whatever he is.
That is so sweet.
Yeah, I do have one single picture we took of him. Literally, he is standing up, because this is supposed to be my healing room and my office too. And it just have been through so many different transformations. But this is what represents for me. But then recently, my spiritual team also said that, I am an angel of hope. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? And they were saying, that it's all about, the happiness, omniscient, and be able to, have that power of enlightenment and bring that, to people that are awakening. So yeah, wow, that's a beautiful mission.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So then we've been playing this week a little bit with words, and I've been asking most of our guests, if there were 3 words that you would use to describe yourself, what would they be? But if that's too difficult, then think about how you
not at all. No. So I would say it would be love, growth, and resilience. Yeah, that's what keeps me going.
Because the pattern is usually the words that we use to describe ourselves, or that we would like others to use to describe ourselves, usually has a lot to do with the work that we do and how we show up in the work that we do. So what is it that you do, Marcela?
I am an inner world transformational healer. And it's so interesting because it took so long for me to make peace with that, because I have so many different backgrounds you know, you would be amazed with so many things that I do, you know, within helping people. But, you know, life, relationship, and intimacy coaching, for example, is part of my background. But I always struggle when people say to me, oh, so you are a coach. And I was like, no. No, I'm not only a coach, because I have done many other things in life. So I'm also a spiritual medium. I'm also a spiritual artist. I am a trance healer. And I have many different backgrounds within personal development, like counseling, I would say emotional intelligence, mindfulness, neuro-linguistic. So there is so many different things that I do, and tools and ways that I can help people, you know, with the awakening and be able to heal and release everything that may be holding them back.
Wow.
I know. The last couple days, I'm yawning a lot. And when I yawn, it's like I'm processing something, but I'm not always consciously aware of what I'm processing. So I love that you bring in so many different modalities and different perspectives on the same root kind of thing.
Yeah. And you know what's interesting, if I can share a short story?
Yeah.
So healing has been in my life. I would say I started exploring Reiki in 2009, and I never stopped. I have done 5 masters in different types of Reiki.
Oh, wow.
I decided never to teach Reiki in itself. And then, not happy, I carried on exploring. So I also have done magnified healing, pure energy healing, and spiritual healing, which is what is the most meaningful to me. But when my husband passed away of a sudden and unexpected heart attack, I was there for 45 minutes with 3 paramedics. You know, we had 3 ambulances, we had a helicopter, everything waiting to take him. And for 45 minutes, I was there watching them trying to bring him back. Me and his mom have gave the first CPR. And while I was there, I was calling my whole spiritual team. I was praying so much because I just wanted him back. And, you know, it took me a while as a spiritual person, as someone that has all of this background in personal development and spiritual development, be able to communicate with loved ones, to actually go through, you know, that grief process. And interesting is, just we are over 2 years now down, you know, to that process. And even though I know already am a healer and a trance healer, I went through a 3 days event, and lots of amazing things has happened that have, you know, just demonstrated to me that I am on the right path, and this is what I should be carry on doing, you know, within healing. And it doesn't matter how the healing will be taking place, it's however the person are in need. But then the tutor on that day, he said to me, now I would like you to send a healing for someone that's not in the room. And I thought, oh, okay, I could send healing to my father. And my dad had prostate cancer. When I have sent the healing and I came it back, it was so interesting having a discussion with my tutor. And I said, you know what? I have realized that all of this time, I didn't like the word coaching because it doesn't describe what I do, but I am a healer. And I just help people in so many different ways. And I created this auto-sabotage, you know, and that imposter syndrome for me, because I couldn't save my own husband. This is the thoughts that I had going on, you know, within the back of my mind. And I have made peace with that, and I embraced that. And, you know, since that day, it's just so many other things have made so much more sense, you know, for me in my life.
I think there are many of us who struggle with that label of coach. Because at the beginning, there was a few people that were coaches. Most of them were in the fitness industry. Then other people started using it. Then there was this huge influx of coaches, and everybody and your neighbor and your cousin and your uncle and all of those people were all coaches. And so how do you differentiate yourself from them? And it didn't really explain. It basically was, I'm a helper in this kind of industry.
So you can say you're a guidance, you know, you're someone that is there as a multi-skilled helper too.
Yeah.
This is depends of your background, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how did you come to that word healer then? Was it just that story with your husband and speaking, or your father? Sorry.
No. When I started having my experience with Reiki itself, yeah, I realized through my training that one of the things that I had as a spiritual gift, and let's make very clear that be able to hear, see, taste, sense, they're not spiritual gifts. They're just part of your own human being, psychic, that any one of us can develop that with time. Okay, but so when I say as a gift, I had this gift to be able to see people's past life.
Oh, interesting.
So that has helped me to understand how I could help them in different healing ways. And for me, what I love to call rewards is when I have access to something that is related, to myself. And when you have those aha moments and you realize, oh my God, now I can see the big picture. Now I know why I'm going through this, because there is something else in another life that, I have left unfinished. Or it could be that there is something there that it just was not part of your soul to carry on. It has stopped for some reason. And you just have access to all of that. And you're thinking, oh, wow, that's just so amazing. Now I know why I have met X, Z, and our connection. This is so beautiful. So, for me, I just see that as a reward. So, for example, my own family, a little bit of my story too. I grew up in Brazil, and I never have met my birth mom. I know that my adoptive mom, which I call mom, she took me away from my birth mom when I was 6 months years old because she didn't have the mental capacity and even financial to look after me. So I grew up without having that sense of belonging. I am from Brazil, but I always knew that was not my place. I always knew that my place would be somewhere overseas. And then I have met my late husband, and it was that story of reconnecting with a soulmate. And there's so many things that I have learned, having this access to past lives. And I start doing so many regressions, and all of that started when a few years down the line when my granddad has passed away. And one day I was talking with my cousin, and she was sharing with me that she was having dreams with granddad. And I was like, oh, you have dreams with granddad? She said, yeah, quite often. I was like, oh, okay. On that night, we had a conversation. I went to my bedroom and was like, right, granddad, whatever you are, this is so unfair what you're doing to me. You always said to me and to everyone that I was the favorite granddaughter, the favorite, between me and all my cousins. How she can have dreams of you, but not me? And on that night, it happened. And then I understood that I just was not ready before, to have that experience. It was such a real dream. I could feel his hug. I could see him in front of me, and my husband, he woke up with me crying, and I just could not open my eyes because I was one to just stay with that moment and that memory. And then I thought, wow, so I want more of this. I want to understand how can I have more of that beautiful experience with my loved one. And then I realized that, yes, like most of us, I had access to be able to see things, but I blocked all of that because I was so scared. I remember as a child just getting my covers, covering myself and stay there praying until I fall asleep because I didn't want it to hear, see anything. And then suddenly, that wish that could be fulfilled to be closer again to a loved one. So when I start doing past life regression, and the script that the person has, tried, it didn't work at all. And then we tried something else that it's an easy one when you just have this, book that you open and you describe what is that photograph that you're seeing. And it was a photograph of my grandfather. And then I start reconnecting with him, and it was just beautiful. It was like he was there in front of me saying, it's okay. You are safe to explore all of this. Let's see where this can take you. And he was there for the first thing that I was doing, spiritually talking all the time, until I just felt so confident to carry on exploring everything by myself.
Mhm.
I never stopped. I think from all the spiritual things that's out there, I have tried every single thing. So I know what I can do, what I cannot. And I just think that it's all so fascinating that we as human beings, we have all of that within us. And we can develop everything that we would like when we have the intention. And intention is everything, is what can move us. When we think about where comes that strength when we really need, yes, it can come from people that believes on us to remind us of who we are. But if we are not able to reconnect with our inner world and go through that healing journey, to be able to evolve, to grow, to be that version of ourselves that we're meant to be as leaders, as role models to the world, as just someone that is there to inspire in any way that we can.
So I have a question sorry, Laura. I have a question, Marcela, in the sense of somebody like I was adopted as well. When you talk about your grandfather, is that your paternal grandfather, not your adoptive mom grandfather? Is that where that comes to?
No, it's my grandfather from the family that has raised me.
Okay.
Because you know what? It's just so amazing how we are so connected. I never felt that this family, it's not my family at all.
Right.
Because they always had that, beautiful bond with me.
Yeah.
So when we want, to try to give you some idea, I only knew that my birth mom has passed away one day. So I have lots of stories, as I said, about my late husband. But when we met online, and he said to me, I'm going to see this medium that he met while his first wife was in the hospital. And this is how I met him, because he had lost his first wife. She had been fighting, against cancer for 7 months. So within that time, he met this medium. And, what was interesting is he said that he would meet this person that at that time I had red hair, and we would get married, and so many things would happen in our life, including some challenge that we had been through. But at the same time, with a difference of 2 days, I also have met someone in Brazil that have said some very similar things. And it was so interesting because he said, my late husband said to me one day after we have met these people, without we share exactly what happened, I know that you know that I know. And at that time, I was only talking to him to be his au pair. And what's interesting? At that time of the life, I was working for an amazing company. So I had everything, guys. I had an amazing career, family, friends, but I was single for 5 years. I didn't knew that, who was that person that I could give my love. And when a friend of mine, she was one to come to study in UK, and she said to me, can you have a look on these websites? I just want to see what would be interesting in terms of job that I can be doing out there. And one of them was Easy Au Pairs. And it just opened this, cookie image of my late husband kids. There was like 2 sweet babies wearing Halloween costumes. And these men that have recently lost his wife, he was looking for someone that could help, him to look after the children. And I was thinking, oh my God, these little boys, they need my love. I haven't thought twice. I paid the website subscription. I got in contact with him, and that's how our story starts. And, you know, one day I will write a book about all of the amazing things we have been through. But, you know, going back to the medium and the adoption, the birth family. So when we went to see Dave, and my late husband said to me, you know, we're going to see Dave, and don't worry about, I told him they don't want to know nothing about the spirit world, that you're so impressed, you know, and he will respect that. I said, okay, fine. And I remember having my shower in tears, so scared. I was like, oh my God, what he's going to say about me? And, you know, thinking that spiritual people and mediums would be one of those that can look at you, they can see all of your goods and all your dark sides. And I didn't want it to be like kind of, you know, exposure to that. And and when I arrived there, it was so totally different, you know, perception. And yes, at some point, David came to talk to me and he said, oh, so you guys are, you know, getting all your plans to get married? I said, yeah. And he said, I want to talk to you about your mom. I said, yeah, fine. Well, my mom is in Brazil. He said, no, I want to talk to you about your birth mom. And I was like, I don't know nothing about her. And then he said, well, she's here with me. And she wanted to, you know, for you to know that she needs your forgiveness. You know, she did what she could. And it was, you know, for your highest good at that time. And he told me how she passed away, and I had other things that has happened to me within, you know, a few years down the line, where I actually was able to communicate directly with her too, and she confirmed everything that I was told. But it was just a beautiful experience because she could describe how my wedding dress would be and everything. You know, before I even have made that final decision, I had a few things in mind, and I have ended up making 2 choices. So I had 2 wedding dresses. But any case, this is how I have learned about. And you know what's interesting? My father was unknown on my birth certificate. Yeah. So my mom, apparently, she didn't know who was my father. And this person has introduced himself 2 years ago. He came to me in spirit, and because I wanted, you know, as I said to you about rewards, sometimes they give me access to some information for my own growth and healing process. And, you know, this gentleman, he'd have a step forward, and he said that he was my father. And he said the reason why my mom didn't knew that he was the person is because he have abused of her when she was drunk.
Oh,
yeah. Indeed. So that makes, you know, total sense. Yeah, I just think all of the journey has been, you know, challenging, rewarding, you know, as we say, with ups and downs, but with lots of learning and growth, and, you know, just the grief in itself. When, you know, Angela passed away, I'm not different from anyone. I didn't want her to be here anymore. And this is why, you know, when people go on my website, you see, you know, the awakenings there, because I had to find my own way to feel that I wanted to feel awakened again. When I had access to everything about myself and my past, and I could figure out who I was, life was amazing. Guys, I was manifesting everything. Everything was happening as a synchronicity in my life. I wasn't to that stage until something has been taken away from me. And I felt absolutely cheated because I knew this has been our third life together. Then guess what? In the first 2 lives, he also have left me. So I thought in this life, as part of we make that balance, I would somehow leave him, or would be a divorce, or, you know, I would go. But I felt so cheated when I could not bring him back. You know, and go through, you know, that phase and thinking, you know, I lost my protector, and then you realize, oh my God, no, it was the opposite. You're the one that came into his life to be able to help him when he most needed, you know, that love, that support. And his boys, they was 1.5 and 3.5. And guess what? Last week, my youngest completed 16, and 2 days ago, my oldest, he's now 18 years old. So I am being a single parent, you know. I am someone that came into a life of a widow, and never expect to be the winner at some point. And hey ho, we're still, hang on around and thinking, okay, guys, so if there is no other way, if I need to carry on working on what would be, whatever's going to be my life mission, my purpose, I better start. Because it means that I am a step ahead to be able to start all of this journey again, and be able to carry on inspiring, helping, and guiding, mentoring people in so many other different ways, maybe from the other side at some point.
So I have a strange question for you. Does buttercup mean anything to you?
The buttercup means anything to me?
Okay. Because
Not at all.
I'm not really familiar with spiritual gifts, but sometimes things happen and I don't know why they're happening. But when you were talking earlier, like everything went cold, goosebumps. My mind just can't think. And the only word that popped into my head was buttercup. I'm not sure if it's for you or for Scott or for me, or I don't know. So I'm just going to kind of ruminate on it.
My only relationship with buttercup is suck it up, buttercup, or bring me up, buttercup. No, that was a song. But anyway, that's interesting.
Like that's not one of my main spiritual gifts. I read eyes. So you had mentioned, going into this new household, this new environment, and not knowing how they're going to read you and how they're going to accept you. I will tell you from my experience that when I do see a great deal in some people, I also know that it's not up to me to share that. And it's also not up to me to share it with the person that I see it from, because they're not always ready to see it either. Do you feel as though you also have that middle ground of there are some things that you need to share with clients and some things that you kind of need to hold back just for now with them?
It was interesting. When I first started, I remember I was in that stage that I was passing by someone and I was getting these, things about, oh my God, his sister passed away and she wants to say this, she wants to say that. And I did approach the person and the person was like, oh, okay. And I could see that the person was not ready, for all of that. Yeah. And it's just with time, when you develop yourself and you gain experience and you learn about the importance to have personal responsibility in everything that you do. Okay. And even, not just a human being, but also as this spiritual, person that is there to support other people too. So what I would like to say is, if I see something, okay, I would say, because it means I had permission to have access to that information. If that person is close to me, if he's a client of mine, okay? Because what happened is, when I am with my clients, the sessions is just flow in such a beautiful way that sometimes I can see where the session is going. I know where I need to take the person.
Yeah.
But sometimes the person is not ready yet. So I need to make sure I am making the right questions, that the person can see where we're going. And then they can have that glimpse of memory or the aha moment. And then I need to ask the permission.
Yeah.
Is that okay if we can talk about this? Because I believe that there is something there that you would benefit if we could explore. So it's all about personal responsibility and the consent.
Yeah. Because sometimes I could just be walking through the mall, walking down the street, somebody walking by me, and all it takes for some people is just a glimpse in their eyes, and I can see their deepest, darkest secrets, their greatest desires, the things that they're afraid of. It's like, whoa!
I'm going to wear sunglasses from now on.
That doesn't help.
One of the things that's coming up for me, Marcela, is and it's personal in a sense, but I was adopted as well. My mom was 17 when she had me, and she had her first meeting with a gentleman, if I shall, and it wasn't anybody that was going to carry on or any sort of future. And I was adopted out and to a different family. And I met my mom again, my birth mom, when I was 21. And I remember at some point, it took a while, but I asked about this fella who sort of contributed to my creation. She didn't really, either she didn't want to or she didn't remember any details. So
Wow.
it's a dead end. And she's now passed away. And I'm in this sometimes lost place because I bump into people like you and other people we've interviewed this week. They talk about your genetic history and how that impacts how you act to the world. And I don't have any idea of my I have no connection, no contact to anybody from my genetic history at all. And my family that adopted me, great, wonderful people in a lot of senses, but no alignment. Like I'm a square peg in a round hole. Like there just doesn't, it never felt. I love them. They're amazing. They raised me. They kept me safe. They did all the things they need to do, and they're family in all those senses. And we're not the same breed, like in a sense. So I feel really like I'm an X of one. I'm just a fresh start. There is no history that I can dig into. People talk about, oh, I did the thing where you chase your genealogy. I'm like, yeah, that's a dead end for me. I mean, nothing. And if I look at the genealogy of the people that raised me, it has no application. So what is that like for people like us, in a sense that we're kind of stuck in two worlds?
Yeah. Okay. I get where you come from, but it's just that I had a different experience. As I said, for me, it was like we was blood. However, I didn't not knew about my full story until I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I don't think that, my adoptive mom have told me everything, she told me what she felt comfortable, to say, because she was extremely controlling as her way to show love, Interesting question. I think from my experience, I don't believe, for example, on Akashic records. I believe in the soul. I don't believe on ancestors because, again, I am adoptive, so who have been my ancestors? Anyone can say anything. But whatever people tell me, it doesn't resonate with me. So I think it's with everything that we hear out there, even with the things I say, you need to understand, okay, so how does this resonate with me? How does that feel within my gut? How, my body and my soul is receiving this information? Okay, so what I think that, for me has helped a lot is be able to have that experience myself, okay, and be able to have access for myself. So if people would tell me something, I would think, okay, how that resonates with me. Akashic records, for example, it doesn't, but past life, it does. And I believe a lot in things that we have to go through, for we rescue from our own journey, from our own way to allow our soul to evolve. What's interesting, I would say 3 months ago, I had access to this, doing a past life regression. I have asked my team to show me why I have to come, to this world, and I never had my own kids in this life. Yeah. And my kids, they are my stepchildren. They are my children. Yeah. So they have showed me that in another life, I was the father that was not ready to accept a child when my wife got pregnant. Yeah. And I literally have ended up the relationship within that life, and I went away. And of course, as you could expect, I felt very miserable within that life, not being able to, know what would be a father. And guess in this life, what happens? My father was a no. And I had to grow up with that on my birth certificate until, of course, my adoptive family changed everything. But, my mom could not raise me either. So for my soul to be able to evolve, and it did, to a point that I could give unconditional love to 2 little ones that I never have seen before in all my life. But I knew somehow we are linked throughout the lives too. This is my family for the second time with the same kids. But it's all when you come to that stage that you can see that you're progressing as a soul, as a human being, that you think, okay, now I understand why I'm going through all of this. And wow, how amazing it is, guys, that you don't need to cross over to actually understand everything that you're going through exactly now.
Mhm.
This is so beautiful. And I think, life, it can be beautiful. We have our struggles, we have ups and downs, but it's so important we be able to find that balance. We be able to transform our inner world.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really feel what you're saying. Like, I just think that this has all been part of my journey, and it was on purpose, and it was meant for different things, and it's become a foundation of who I am and the strength of who I am. And I bump into these situations where people talk about their genetics or their ancestry and their lineage, and I go, well, I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, I think the good and positive point for us is when we see a doctor and they ask all of our medical history and they say, oh no, you can stop here, as far as I know, I'm healthy.
Yeah. Just start from here, assume there is no history. Yeah.
Yes.
So Marcela, what kind of projects are you working on right now?
So right now I have my Sunday speakers. So I do every Sunday I get together, helping people that feel that they have a message to share, but they don't feel confident. They don't even know how to start. So this is one of the things that we work on. And I have my book to launch next year, which is this one. Okay, so it's going to be the first one, and it's called Awaken to Embrace Vulnerability and Sexuality, a journey in strengthening your intimate relationship. So this is more like a workbook where you learn to find, that intimacy again within yourself and how you can open up, and be more vulnerable, with your partner and whoever you choose to have within your life. And a part of that, I have 2 other books that I'm going to do in collaboration with Blue Talks. And and there's so many other little projects that I have. And I have, 2 other partnerships that I'm studying the possibility. And I'm also going to do a medical intuitive training, from January. So there's so many things. I think I am someone that needs variety. I can't be in a routine. I think my lifestyle, thank God, allows me, to just do whatever I would like and wake up in the morning and think, okay, what do I have for today? Okay, and just plan and take the life, as is.
That's awesome. I've posted your website on all of the streaming channels that we're on right now. We're on 6 Facebook pages, LinkedIn and YouTube Live all at once. So I've posted your website there. So
Thank you.
Awesome. MarcelaOnyx.com. And I put the direct link because I pulled it up and made sure I had the right one.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's funny that you brought up that first book. Can you tell me the name of it again?
Yeah.
The one that you held up?
Yes, of course. It's called Awaken to Embrace Vulnerability and Sexuality. And I do have another. Sorry?
I was having a conversation about that with a friend this morning, like an hour before this call. Oh, that is a message from the universe that I need to check that out.
Yeah. And I do have another one, a pipeline, which is called Awakening Your Truth is What Matters. So that's already got 30,000 words, but it's still a work in progress.
Sounds good.
Thank you. I believe our time is coming to an end. Is that correct?
We've got 5 more minutes kind of thing.
5 more minutes.
So what are your big things that you're working on now that really make you excited to help the world? And what's coming up for you that's really firing you up?
Well, you know what? I am in a phase that I'm like, guys, I'm here to serve. And I'm happy to serve in so many different ways. So, for example, my artwork, I paint people that I never have met before. And within months, days, I end up meeting people. So when you talk about what keeps you going, excited, what you really love to do, I love to be at service. I love to say, here I am. You come and take from me that support and that help, however you believe that we can work together. And just allow everything to unfold, because that's something that I have learned is to have patience and allow things to unfold. And I try not to make too many plans at all, even especially when I have been through grief. I just thought I don't want to put myself under any overwhelming situation. I want to live life on my terms. I want to enjoy my journey, and everything that I do, it must be because I'm putting love into it. So whatever I commit to do, I need to make sure that I enjoy every single step, because then, everyone can get the best of me, and I also can, be in that place that I'm feeling that I'm living my life, on an authentic way, in balance, and, being present for my family too, that really needs me, and, finding my way to keep going, no matter what, and just allowing the universe to guide me through that journey.
So you had mentioned that you have a few books. What is it about writing books that you love?
Tell me about it. If someone would tell me 3 years ago that I would write anything, I would say, wow, I can barely speak English, because sometimes people, they say they can't understand a word of what I'm saying. No, joking. No, I have been through a lot. I would say I was in a corporate world, and I have been really successful in everything that I was doing, managing, millions of projects to support business in the Southeast, Midlands, and of England. Okay. And it has been an amazing journey. But I just thought, within the corporate world, I take the creditors just from, the board, the CEOs, and people doesn't even know that all the results, that they have been, getting, from the workshops, through grants that they was receiving, everything else. I was the one that was project managing all of that successfully, for they be able to get the benefit. And I thought, how about I carry on supporting the world in a different way, that it's me showing up and saying, I am the one that can support you within that journey, and you come and just decide, how can we make that relationship work? Because there is times that, the person is just being curious, but then you're not fully ready to take that responsibility. And what you do, you send them love, you give them something for they reflect about, for they work with themselves, and they will remember you, and they will come back to you when they feel ready.
What's it like to work with you, Marcela, and where you show people their past life, things that are influencing their current life, and what does that look like? So what does that mean on your journey forward, understanding that all those roles from past life things and unsolved pieces or unlearned lessons, and then you move forward? What does that look like on a sort of a real scale?
All right. So first of all, it doesn't work like that. It happens if I'm, for example, giving healing and that information comes. So what I tend to do is, because not everyone, as you guys know, are happy to understand and accept all of that. Yeah. So this is why I'm saying I am an inner world transformational healer, because I can see where the trauma is, where that pain is on the current life. And if there is something else to be explored that is linked with another life, and if my team somehow show me, then I understand that person has the right to know, and they probably will receive, in a way that they will understand. But sometimes, it's all about the story that we tell ourselves, as we know.
Yes.
And it's about the person recognizing that the story that they have been telling themselves all of this time may not be the reality. It's just something that they have created in their mind to make sure that there was not, too much pain or a shame situation. So, within my work, it's about build that relationship. And then as the person starting to open up, as I said, I can feel within the energy if that person is actually being authentic, if there is something else that I need to work with in the person, for they be able to open up a little bit more. And then we understand from there what needs to be, that healing process. And that healing process can be anything related, with their life, with their relationships, with their intimacy, because there is sometimes people say, oh, I have an amazing life. okay.
Hmm.
But my intimacy life, oh my God, I don't even want to talk about that.
Right.
And as you know, how difficult it is for you being in a relationship that you can keep that flame, that you can remember every single day why you have chosen to have that person within your life. But also, how can you carry on living your life on your terms and being authentic with yourself, with your partner? And there is so many relationships out there that we know that people have, that shadows, and they don't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
They don't talk about their basic needs with their partner.
Mm-hmm.
I am blessed. I have someone else in my life now, and we are together for 1 year. And he knows when I'm not happy about something, when I'm start missing something, and said, right, we need to talk about something. And I share, because remember, no one can do mind reading. And if they can do, it's not guaranteed that it's going to be an accurate one, So you always need to remember that there is someone else that you decide to open up out there. Is someone else that you have chosen, and even if you're single, don't give up. Go through that inner journey, within yourself. Fall in love with yourself. How can your partner fall in love with you if you're not ready to love that part of yourself? If you're not ready to really show up to your partner, no matter what. And it doesn't matter, if you're aging, if you don't feel that you have the same body when you have met your partner. We all go through those phases. But we all should be remembering that the love that we all can focus and can guarantee that's going to be eternal is that love within ourselves. When you choose to have someone within your life and you can look into their eyes and you can connect and you can be yourself, you can share whatever is going on, whatever is your desires, whatever is your ultimate secrets, and be able to have that return, that give and receive and the balance within the relationship. And every single day, that's when you are having a fulfillment life. And yes, it is possible. Life is made of choices. And if you are in a relationship that things are not working, let's not blame the other half at the moment. Let's just try to work within ourselves and find out who we are, your values, trying to understand, okay, why I am repeating the same patterns on and on and on and on. And remember, it's not about the other person. It's just about you and your journey. And you have made the choice to be in that relationship. You have made a choice to be who you are and to be how you want people to perceive you to. Yeah.
I want to say thank you, Marcela. There's some things that I've been working through and I didn't know were there, and started yesterday, and then they came up this morning, and then your book, and then just all of that. Falling in love with myself again was just kind of what hit me in the gut.
Yeah,
Thank
bless
you.
I could feel the transformation going on as I was speaking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. And you're not alone. I had to go through that too. I had to learn how to love myself. I have to learn how to have the unconditional love for someone again. And I did. And it was someone that had nothing. Like he was an opposite version of me. He had long hair and beard, and I was like, oh my God, okay. It was so interesting. Everything started with I never have kissed someone that has a long hair. And we kissed and we couldn't stop. It was like a 20-minute kiss. And, and we was together for 2 months. And then here was someone that he's into mushrooms and, gypsy, and it's not me at all. We wouldn't have nothing common, nothing common at all. But when we was together, it was like we knew each other for somehow. And I learned that, okay, so I never tried to change him.
No.
I accepted him for who he was, and that was unconditional love. And I felt, okay, so now I can feel unconditional love again for someone. I can move on. I know I'm ready for my next relationship.
Yeah.
And that's how it is. But it's all about stop looking externally. Stop thinking about what you don't have and recognize what you have today within you, within your life. Remember, you're here, you're breathing. You have a roof, on top of your head. You have somehow, how to carry on every single day within your life, and every single day that you wake up, it's up to you to make that choice. And it's not about, the financial situation, the politics and all of that. Oh my God, this is so much out of our control.
I do want to stop you there.
Yeah. We need to head off, but we've really hit some gold mine stuff, and I really want to thank you, Marcela. People, you're right. People have to be ready, because I think working with you is about shining a flashlight on the thing you don't want to expose to the light, and you have to be ready for that. And I really thank you for the interview today. This has been spectacular. I've put your link up there for people who want to reach out to you and explore this side. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for both of you. Enjoy your journey. Be you, be brave, be love. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Oh, that was an amazing.
I need to breathe.
Whew. Yeah.
I appreciate all the awareness. I'm an external processor, so I can have all of the thoughts I want in my head. I can journal all I want on paper. It's not the same as having a conversation with somebody. Even when it's not about me, even when we're just generally talking, my mind is like, how does this apply? How does this apply?
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears to our final guest of the day on Friday of bLU Talks Amplify Your Message. I'd like to welcome Gineen Nichols to the stream. Hello.
Hello. Hi, you guys.
How you doing?
I get to see your face, and it's not a Facebook profile photo.
I know. It's awesome. It's awesome. Should we all breathe right now?
That might be a good thing.
Wow. Right? I was like, holy smokes. Just even I watched the last 3 conversations, and I was like, oh no.
Doing bLU Talks Amplify Your Message with Laura it's amazing. It's a wonderful gift, and we get to meet so many incredible people, but energetically at the end of the day, it's exhausting.
Right? At the end of the week, because and the last one was the last interview was different because there was a lot going on with my door, and I'm like, oh my God, there's somebody coming in. Is it my daughter? Is it my parents? And then my parents, it was a big mess. And then at the same time, I'm getting these messages with the goosebumps, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And then all of that happening, that my mind, it still felt like there was lingering messages that I don't really know how to communicate with. They just kind of impart themselves, and I'm trying to learn boundaries around that.
Yeah, digesting and processing.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's amazing. So Gineen, let's dive into your world. And first of all, I'm going to say, as a 25-year trainer, I see the stability ball and the stepper benches and the dumbbells. I'm like, yes, we're going to have something to talk about.
Are you on a yoga ball right now?
No, you know what?
I am.
I'm not. I should be, but I'm not. I feel like that would make people motion sick.
Do you know, it's interesting, and I'm going to dovetail for a second. I've been working with Dr. Amy Novotny, who's a lady, a doctor of physiotherapy that Laura and I met in February at Amplify Your Message.
Okay.
And I was talking to her last week about the fact that I sit on a stability ball chair, and she's like, you got to get rid of it. I was like, what? She's like, no, your spine can't relax when you're at work. There's no relaxation. You're constantly, your yoga chair is putting you in fight or flight for the whole time you're at your desk, and nothing about you can relax. And I was like, oh. So yesterday I tried a regular office chair. No, 2 days ago I tried a regular office chair. I just hated it. So I went back to my ball chair. But I need to figure out a different way to sit where I can relax.
Yeah.
Because I'm that guy. I never relax.
Yeah, right?
And that's not good either.
So Gineen, we've been playing with a fun question, and I really want to ask you, because I know you more on Facebook than I do just like face to face. The question is this, and it's kind of a twofold question. So if there were 3 words that you could use to describe yourself, that would be wonderful. But I know how hard that is. So here's another insight. Maybe it's 3 words that you would love other people to describe you as.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That is a toughie.
I know.
3 words I want other people to describe me as. aligned,
Ooh.
intuitive,
Mhm.
and passionate. Those are my words.
Okay. Okay. So then why do you say those 3 words?
I think that's because, well, aligned because that's where I'm moving towards is
Yes.
more alignment. And intuitive, that's sort of where I've been coming from the last several years, is just intuitively listening to allowing my body to speak to me
Mm.
and allowing my body to tell me what it needs on a daily basis. And then just passionate because I am very passionate about what I'm doing at the moment, and I believe that it's a calling. I don't believe that I have a whole lot of control over what I'm doing at the moment, but I just believe I'm here, and sometimes I don't even know why, right?
So what are you doing at the moment then?
So right now, within the last year and a half, I jumped into the world of online coaching.
Ooh.
And I work with women who are going through hormonal issues, burnout, right? For so many of us, right? And just helping them to reconnect with themselves and being able to intuitively listen to their bodies as well. And all of this came from my own journey through burnout. I spent about 6 years just really struggling with my own body and trying to get it back to a space of happiness and feeling well again. And it was a really interesting journey. It was a tough journey because prior to that, I was always involved in fitness, and I was a power lifter and a strong woman competitor and a figure competitor. And I was, very much like Scotty in the gym all the time and go, teaching classes. And then I literally just hit a giant brick wall. And my body did things I didn't know it could do. And it took a lot of years to get from where I had allowed my body to get to. But I also believe that was for a purpose, so that I could do what I'm doing today. And I actually didn't plan to really get back into this. I had started a new career as a rehabilitation assistant. I went back to school. I was working in the healthcare setting. And then my husband and I moved to Fredericton, New Brunswick. So we're not far away. And I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do? And I had kind of had some sort of messages, I guess, sent my way, and the universe had spoken a little bit, but I started to share my story. And it's so cool. I was thinking, when I was listening to all the other, women prior to me today, I was thinking, oh my gosh, did they plan this out? Because there were so many similar stories that came out, sharing your story. I had written words down, resilience, synchronicity, flow, authenticity, vulnerability, and falling in love with ourselves. And that's sort of been what has happened for me over the years. I just decided to go out there, and I knew I had a story to share, and I wanted to share that vulnerability. And then all of a sudden I started to get flooded with messages from women saying, oh my God, like, you're telling my story. And it's like you're in my head.
Huh.
And that's
sort of in the right spot. You're like, yes, sweet spot.
Yeah, but it was also scary too, because I didn't really, it wasn't my master plan to come into this avenue. And I had to figure out, how do I do this? And how do I want to do this? And how do I want to come at this too? Because what I didn't want to do was come at it from the same space, because for years I had done coaching from the perspective of, okay, here's your diet, here's your exercise,
yes,
and away you go. That's all.
As many do, yeah.
Yeah, right? But then I learned that there is so much more to healing our bodies from, and I know I've heard Scotty talk about this too, is that it comes from a space of self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I want to come from, is that when you can come from that space of self-love, everything else is going to do the work on its own, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that ties right into something that I created. I call it the bed mass of wellness. Because right after my accident, I used to do not personal training, but like wellness coaching on the side, helped a bunch of my friends after university. But then all of a sudden, all of the things that I knew stopped working. And the personal trainers at the gym are like, I don't know. And the nutritionist at the gym was like, I don't know. And all my doctors said the same thing. They're like, we don't know what's going on. You should be getting results because that's what the science says. So then I did some more research in different ways to try to figure out, well, what is going on? And basically it was all of those, what I call interior factors, which is the BED, that is mostly in our mind. It's like, what is happening within our bodies, within our minds, within our emotions, before we ever take those external steps of diet, nutrition, and surroundings or environment, however you want to say it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So much yes to that.
Much more. Yeah.
And I know that there's, again, synchronicities and so many similar stories, is that the beginning of this came from my husband being in a near-death accident, and he had traumatic brain injury. Right?
Yeah.
All those worlds. And so that's why I believe I had such a hard time healing, was because I hadn't healed the trauma that I had gone through in what I had seen from his. And I was thinking about that too with because I know more with Scotty's story too, and that it's almost the reversal, right? I was the wife watching my husband, in that space, and that was my trauma, whereas yours was actually going through the healing journey, right? And probably the same for you as well, Laura. Like, yeah.
Scotty and I have very similar stories. Both architecture, both bicycle accident, both like coaching, both wellness. Yeah. Very similar.
Yeah. Yeah. And then not knowing I didn't have great coping skills. I didn't grow up showing a lot of emotion. So when that happened, I didn't know what to do with those emotions. I literally just stuffed them down to my toes, and I was like, I'm the strong one. I'm going to keep going. And then just, when I went back to work, when I hit the gas pedal even harder. And I think that was so that I could distract from any of those feelings at all. And so then I sent myself into this crazy world of not sleeping, of being the workforce, of just working, 16-hour days, and just go, all the while trying to be a caregiver to my husband, taking him to all these appointments, his therapy appointments. And then when he started to improve, that's when I started to hit a really big wall of burnout, and not just mentally, but physically. And I had fatigue that I just had never ever felt in my life before. And I had to have, a 2-hour nap to get through the day. There was no way I was going to function without having a 2-hour nap. And all this inflammation and digestive issues, skin issues, my body just freaked out at me. And I had no idea. And this is where, in that fitness industry, and especially with the fitness competing that I did, I knew how to get my body to do what it should do for competitions, things like that. I could gain 5 pounds, I could lose 5 pounds. I knew how to do it. And when this hit, I had no idea what was going on. Yep. And then went to, different doctors, different specialists, and very similar things. Nobody could tell me how to solve my issues, right? Yeah. I finally got paired up with a really amazing naturopathic doctor who really, really helped out, and a few other practitioners along the way. But it really came down to a lot of work on myself, and a lot of letting things go. Yep. And releasing the traumas before anything else would happen, and also letting go of the person that I was. That was also a big thing that I really didn't understand, because I was stuck in this space of, if I could just get back to doing powerlifting. If I could just get back to doing figure competing. But I had to let that girl go so that I could be who I was going to be.
So then how would you describe the work that you do today as it is in this expression?
I think it has some similar aspects, because here's the thing, is that people come in to the program and that's their expectation. They expect, here's your meal plan, here's your workout, and this is going to be magical. And that's all you have to do. But my favorite thing is when a client says to me at the, I run my programs for 12 weeks, but when they come to the end and they say, you know what, this was not what I expected it to be. And this is not what the results that I got are not what I expected them to be.
Yeah.
But I feel so much different. So I love to work on, let's get out of the fight, flight, or freeze, because in reality today, we have all been chased by a saber-tooth tiger.
Sometimes a saber-tooth tiger. I get
Sometimes
chased by those.
right? But like for the last, say, 2 to 3 years, and our body was not designed to deal with that or to manage that type of chronic stress. So I see a lot of women, and I'm sure that there are lots of men out there too, but a lot of women in that space of, I just need to do more. I need to do all the things. I need to be there for my kids. I need to have the business. I need to, take care of my parents. When we get to this age too, we run into a whole other phase of life as well, where our parents are aging sometimes, and we take on different roles, and nobody really, we didn't prepare for that either, right?
Nope.
And there's just a lot of things that life is not always, it's a bumpy road sometimes.
It's not
learning
It's
Yeah.
not a straight line. It's not A to B. It's a spaghetti noodle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think, with what you and I do, I love that eating well and movement is it's the start. It's just that little core piece. But I think you're like me in the sense that I tell people it's going to be about what to eat and how to move, but I know that's not it. But I can't tell them what it really is, because that's not marketing sexy. Like they just want to know, what's the best diet? Okay, listen, here it is. I've got the best diet. Come and do the best diet. Great. But while you're here, actually, it has nothing to do with it. I mean, we need to do those things too, right? Because if you start eating well and taking care of yourself, and I always say, it's great to love food, but eat food that loves you back.
Oh, I love that.
Right. And so once you start eating food that loves you back, then enzymes and hormones start to play nicer. And when you're in that space, then you get to start to explore, well, what's really going on? What's really, and then we can really, then it gets juicy, in my opinion. That's when it really gets fun.
Yeah, right? That's so true. And you're right. If we said that right off the bat, they'd be like, I'm out. See ya.
Yeah. I don't want to deal with that.
No.
Well, that's why I use the words ripple effect results. And people are like, oh my God, I want that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, so you're familiar with the diet and exercise part. That's 2 of the last things you get to worry about. And they're like, wait, what? And then it kind of starts that conversation.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so
But they
true.
get called in with the ripple effect results. Like one effort, 6 different things happen.
But you have to start there.
You do have to
like you have to start there. Like you need to do a bit of a tune-up before you can drive anywhere. Let's fill up the tires. Let's fill up the tires a little and then go on a journey. But I just want to go on the journey. Okay, but let's
Yeah, I love that, Scotty. That's awesome. Like, let's make sure that the car is actually going to make it to where we need to go, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I tell people, like, press the power button, which is sleep. I was like, press that first.
I love
Doesn't matter how good it was, but press it first. Once it's turned back on, then you can start, like, Are the programs running that I need to run? And
Yes.
it's that gradual spiral up that the diet and exercise basically help tell your body what to do the next time, and tell
Yeah.
you at a higher level.
Mhm.
Because if you're not doing the
Absolutely.
diet and exercise, then you're just telling it the same thing or less. That reset doesn't help.
Yeah.
So start with the reset, put the diet and exercise in, tell your body what's we wanted to do, and then it
Yes.
gets better and better and better and better and better and better, better.
Mhm.
100%, because we know that what we put into our body, like you had said, that loves your body back, because that will affect, right, our mental health too,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and our stress level.
Like it's all connected. All of it is.
Yeah.
Everything,
Yeah.
everything, right? And that was the big thing that I realized that there were so many pieces that I was missing in my previous days of coaching and training.
Yeah.
And but yes, starting with those fundamentals, and then exploring like what are the things, and I love how you were talking about releasing or dropping the weight, because you're right, when we lose something, we're always looking for it. And we talk about releasing. What are the things that you have to let go of before, even sometimes before physically, your body's going to let go of something else? What are those little pieces that you just really need to let go of?
Mhm.
And so working on the body as a whole, because I think when I went to see all these different specialists, they were looking at, the endocrinologist would look at one thing, and somebody else, the neurologist, would look at another thing, but they never really put the whole package together of what everything was all just really, really connected.
And they don't. They're specialists in a lot of senses, and a lot of, not to slag Western medicine. I think it's great, it has its purpose, but it's disease care.
Yep.
It's broken repair. That's all it does. And it's
Yep.
great when you're broken. When I cartwheeled down a highway and broke a bunch of things, I was really grateful for that medicine. It was awesome. When I'm looking then for optimal, now I'm outside of their zone. Like I
Yeah.
remember when my wife and I were trying to get pregnant and stuff, and she had all kinds of different challenges that we were working through. One of them was working with an endocrinologist. And I won't get into her medical history, but we had gotten to the point where we were dissolved a lot of things that we thought would allow us to get pregnant, which eventually did work. But I remember meeting with her endocrinologist, and this is in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. This is the premier endocrinologist. This is the guy. If you want to talk thyroid, this is the guy. And I remember talking to him and saying, I have a question for you, because we'd resolved where we were at with my wife, and that meeting was done, and all of his process. Okay, we're finished. She's good, clear to go back to the fertility clinic, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, I just have a question for you. I had a thyroid virus that attacked my thyroid, and I had all these issues back in 2001. And I just wondered, can I test my thyroid to see if it's functioning optimally now? And he goes, no, we don't have any tests for optimal. You don't have any tests for optimal? He says, no, once you're within a range, that's all we do. I know disease state. I know all the things that can be broken, but I don't know what it looks like when it runs perfectly.
Yeah.
That's our best thyroid specialist, is I don't know what the thyroid's like when it's running perfectly.
That is really interesting, because, and I have a lot of women who get, and the frustrating part is that I sometimes I do feel, and this is not to poo-poo on we have an amazing conventional medical system, but I agree with you that there are pieces that are maybe a little bit missing sometimes, or that it's just not looking for that optimal care. But they will request, they have all these issues going on that would really suggest that there's something hormonally happening, especially as we're moving into the perimenopause, menopause sort of phases of our lives. And they're either being denied because what the terminology that comes back is, oh no, you're too young, you don't need to do that. Or they get it done and they get the word that you're okay, everything's normal. And that did happen.
Range. You're at the bottom of the range, but you're within the range. So therefore,
yeah.
Well,
and that's true.
Yeah, that's why I like getting a copy of my own blood work, because then in my head I know, am I within 10% at the bottom of that scale or the top of that scale? Because that could mean that it's not right for me and my body and my norm.
100%, absolutely, right? And I say to people, you know, if you have a child in school and they get tested, do you want them sitting at, you know, the bottom of the pack? No, you don't. You want them to be at the most optimal place that they can be so that they can thrive. And that's where sort of I go is, I don't want to just be okay with like, oh, I guess I feel okay, or I have okay energy today. I want to always continuously work towards, how can I actually have even better energy? How can I make myself and my body perform even better? How can I have better immunity? And I think that's where we all should want to be, but I don't know that we have that knowledge, and good for you, Laura, for asking for copies. I know I do as well, because if we can take that power back and say, I mean, we're all human. Things get missed, right?
Yeah.
Things are going to get missed.
Well, the worst part is it runs in my family that some of us can't get B12 out of food very easily. And even when we do, it goes through our system so quickly, like we can't absorb it. So if one day I just happen to eat nicely, and at that point in time, my B12 just happens to be at the very baseline of that normal, is that actually a clear picture? No. So like, these are some of the things that I have to be hyper aware of. I also know that if I took a vitamin, like the B12 vitamins consistently the night before, it will skyrocket and they'll complain. And I'm like, yeah. But look, I know what it's like for my family and my health, and my energy will tell me that. My digestion will tell me that.
Yes.
Yes.
That's such a big piece, is our digestive health. And some of the things that I see women come to me already experiencing are symptoms of major digestive issues, right? Big time fatigue. And then in their blood work, they're seeing like low B12, low iron is very common. Their progesterone is through the floor. Insulin resistance is another big one that I'm seeing an alarming amount of people with. And that pre-diabetes, I've worked with a lot of women who just have, I think especially through the COVID time, have really neglected getting our health checks done, because who wants to go to the hospital, right? Who wants to go there? and then because of that, they have no idea what's happening in their health. And then all of a sudden I say, you know what? There are some symptoms here that we probably want to get checked out through blood work. They go to their GP, and lo and behold, they're pre-diabetic. And then they're like, oh no. Which is, I say to them, that's so much power that you have now, because you can do something about this. And that's the way to look at that, is either you can think, oh my gosh, my body's so broken and life is over, or we have this power now that we have this knowledge and we can actually do something with it. But a lot of insulin resistance and pre-diabetes, and I don't know, part of it is, I know, lifestyle. I mean, like, if you look at how we've learned to eat over the last, 50 years or so, it's not the greatest. But also the stress, right? Today, the stress of the world today is really creating issues. And I think too that what I realized is that in my generation anyway, we didn't grow up learning stress techniques, like ways to breathe. Right? We didn't do breathing, meditation and all of those stress reduction techniques and ways to bring our central nervous system back down. We just kind of powered through it. But now life is getting more and more stressful. There's more technology. There are more, we're looking at screens more. Yeah.
Well, and it's a fascinating world that we're in, Gineen, too, in the nutrition, health, and fitness world, because there's so much information, misinformation versus popularity. And something becomes popular and it gets put on this pedestal of accurate, and it's not. No. It's not accurate. And there are so many layers. And we talked several times with several different people this week. It came around of breathing. And people think, well, breathe all the time. What are you talking about? There's a difference between an actual purposeful functional breath for an extended period of time. We shallow breathe all day long. We shallow breathe. But then you get things like, I remember watching a Gaia series with Dr. Joe Dispenza, phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm reading his book and I'm listening, and he goes, okay, so here's how you fix everything. You meditate for 2 hours a day. I'm like, oh, okay. No universe where I'm meditating for 2 hours a day. I'm not ready for that Gandhi level commitment. So you're not speaking to me. But if I can get you to just breathe for 5 minutes, the changes are profound, and people don't understand that. It just,
No.
because we're fight or flight. And if you'll just take 5 minutes to breathe, and switch from sympathetic, which means you're dealing with all the things, to parasympathetic, which is I'm healing myself and I'm okay.
Yeah. We don't complete the stress cycle.
No, we're stressed. There's never a calm down.
No.
And it's funny.
Like a deer. That's all.
Yeah, it's funny. One of the things I've got going that I do every month, I have a free Facebook group called the Warrior Code Training 3000 Club. And so every 30 days, we do 100 a day of something.
I did it today.
I know. Laura, this is month 12 is the hardest one. It's 3,000 burpees by Christmas. So it's 100 a day. And I always say, I don't care if you do wall burpees, bench burpees, floor burpees, push-up burpees. I don't care. Something
Floor push-up burpees on a foam roller because I couldn't even stand up. Okay. It started off horrible.
Still progress. But I'll tell you, I started working with an amazing doctor of physiotherapy, Dr. Novotny, and I've started. So I'll do my 100 full push-up burpees, and then I do 5 minutes of laying on the ground, breathing. I just breathe. And so I put myself in fight or flight, 100 burpees, and then I take myself out of fight or flight.
Yeah.
That's what we're missing.
Yes. You teach your body to complete the stress cycle. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's the missing piece. And people don't get that, how physiologically that rest can do so much for, not just, we all think of it as the mental. Yes, it's definitely amazing. But what the effect that it has on your body, on reducing like blood glucose levels, even on your liver, even for metabolism, there's so many benefits. And so I love that part, in bringing breath work into things and really getting our bodies to come out of that, that sympathetic nervous system state.
Yeah. And it's amazing. Like I have, if I train somebody in my home studio and I'm like a busy business owner and stuff, and we do this crazy powerful workout, and then the last thing we do is 5 minutes of deep breathe stretching or laying on the ground breathing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Because lying on the ground, I have a client who, she says, you know what? She said, I get stressed out and I lie on the ground. And I said, do you know what? I said, that's your body instinctively grounding itself, because you see kids doing that all the time, right? They just do it. They don't even know what they're doing, but that's exactly what they're doing. Because I know my nephew would lie on the floor and would be like, what are you doing in the middle of the floor? But that's probably what he was doing, was grounding himself.
Grounding. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like the first step of the trauma reducing exercises, or TRE. You lay flat on your back, you've got your knees up. For those who don't know, you like your feet together and you try to stick your knees up, and you can feel the shaking. The scary part is when you feel like you're a fish and you're just like flopping around on the floor. But that's how animals do it. They don't have the same cognitive abilities that we do. So they get rid of the tension in their bodies, or the stress that they've held on to, by shaking it out. Yeah.
And so, Gineen, what is it you do? Like, so people are like, wow, this sounds really great. It's a great conversation. Gineen seems neat. How do I work with her? What does she do?
Yeah.
Well, they can always contact me on Facebook. Do you know what? I'm so new at this that I don't have a website. It's going to be on the list, but because when I started in this, it started like, I got more response than I had thought I would, which is amazing. And I was so excited about that. And I didn't expect that, honestly, but I've just been continuously running these 12-week programs, and they literally like fill within a couple weeks. And it's been an amazing, amazing journey. And I'm so blessed to be here and be able to share with people just the knowledge that I've gained in how I sort of maneuvered through my healing journey. But, everybody has their own journey as well. And when we talk about even nutrition, I believe that nutrition is very much individual. And so there's no cookie cutter, right? I couldn't say to somebody like, here you go, here's your diet. And it's absolutely going to work for you because everybody is very individual, and it's about learning what foods work in your body and work best for your body. And so it's a lot of learning and teaching, but yeah, I'm on. I have a business page on Facebook. It's Time for You Health and Wellness. Thank you. And so they can contact me there. I have my personal Facebook page, just Gineen Nichols, and I'm really this journey, even though it seems so simple, kind of scares the poo out of me sometimes. I'm like, I saw this chart the other day. The life of an entrepreneur is like, I got this, and it's like, no, I have no idea what I'm doing, and then it's like, yeah, I got this, right? So sometimes it's like that. It's all a journey of growing even myself more, and I want to just continue to grow as a coach and be there the best way that I can to support people, because I understand that when your body feels broken, it's not a fun space to be in, and it's very scary, and we feel like, oh my gosh, what's coming next for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't feel like we have the ability to fix it, and it doesn't feel easy. The journey doesn't feel easy, and I tell people my journey took me 6 years, and I knew I had the knowledge. And so if your body is in that state of major distress, it's more about kindness and allowing yourself to get those cues from your body. And for some people, if you are in burnout land, you got to rest. You have to rest and get your body to come out of that fight, flight, or freeze response, because that's where it's living, and that's where it's learned to live.
And yeah, absolutely. And I think what I love about what we do, Gineen, so many people don't realize that just the simple foundation of good nutrition, drink some water, get some rest, move your body. Those key 4 pieces, people don't realize how profoundly that affects your mood, whether you're depressed, anxious, how you handle stress, how you recover. They're so effective. They don't, the people go, well, if I eat right, exercise, drink water, get some sleep, I'll drop 5 pounds. Yeah, okay, great, yippity skippity. That's the smallest thing it fixes. That's a cute little byproduct, is you'll be leaner. That's neat. But the profound changes of you're happier, you handle stress better, you're smiling more, there's a skip in your step.
Right?
You prevent that 5 pounds from coming back.
Yeah. Like they're like, I want to drop 5 pounds, coach. Okay. That's for 5 pounds. Great. Okay. That's neat. But what if we had you actually be healthy, and then that would just happen?
Right.
It'll just go away. You don't need it anymore.
Yeah. You don't need it. You don't need it. I love that. And it's so true, right? We kind of come at it from a backward space, but if we really look at it as in, I'm just going to take care of my body and give it the things that it needs. Because really, when you think about it, what does your body do for you every single day? And how are you showing it love and respect back? Like, think about, it gets up for you every single day. It takes you where you need to go. And like you said, that's the stuff I'm passionate about too, Scotty. Is like, how do you, the women that come to me, they're like, it affected my whole family. I'm a better mom. Yes. I'm a better partner. I'm just a better friend. I'm more at peace with myself. That, you're right. That is the golden ticket right there. That's where the money is.
Yeah.
But we can't start there. We can't market that. I'm like, hey, if you're coming to me to drop 10 pounds, I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah.
By the way, there's more.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going through Scott's 21-day nutrition reset right now. And the goal is not to lose weight. I've been there, done that, right? The goal is to heal my gut, to heal my liver, to just heal my body in general, because there's stuff going on. This morning, it's Friday, so to make sure I can take a peek at all the other issues I have, I measure and weigh myself and do all my measurements on Friday.
Data.
So
Gather
then
some
I
data.
did my measurements this morning. I was like, woo, I lost 6 pounds. Cool, nice byproduct. But I also realized that January of 2019 was when I got on the scale and weighed the most I ever weighed, including gaining 50 pounds during my pregnancy. Okay. So
Yes.
I'm like 200 pounds on the scale and I'm like 199.9. But instead of hounding myself to say, oh my God, you're so fat or anything like that, the first thing I thought of on that day, January 2nd, 2019, it was, oh, you poor sweet child. The things that I have done to you, and
Yes.
you are still here for me. You're the only one who's always been here for me. That is amazing in and of itself. And from this day forward, I'm going to start treating you better because I appreciate you.
So good.
And it was from that day on, I have never gained more than 5 pounds back
Amazing.
during like relapse areas. Whereas before, like I gained 40 pounds from my last PTSD. It was a protective weight, and I'm almost got all of that off.
Yeah, like what's that? The suit of armor, right?
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, and good for you. What you said to your body that day was that,
yep,
I'm so sorry. Like I love you, right? And I'm so sorry I did that to you, but I'm gonna fix this because I love you.
And just that one mental shift. You were talking in your daily mindset this morning, Scotty, about setting your clothes aside at night. I used to spend about 45 minutes every morning go, I hate putting this on. It makes me feel horrible in my clothes. And from that moment on the scale, it was, you know what? I can be sexy in anything.
Yeah.
And I look in the mirror every morning, and I'm not like super conceited about it, but I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, I love those curves. And I'll just admire for a moment and then I'll get dressed. And it doesn't matter what those curves look like today. They look different than yesterday. And I still love them every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll just going to wrap this up. This is so great. There's such an alignment. But what we're all saying too, and I know Gineen and I are on the exact same page here, is listen, your body loves you. It's doing so much every day to try desperately to keep you running with what you're giving it, and you're treating it like garbage. If you would just stop and love your body back, give it a hug, say, I'm sorry for treating you like crap.
Love you.
Here's some good food. Here's some good movement. For God's sakes, here's some water, you know, that doesn't have coffee beans in it. Like, here's some just water. Like,
rocks in it.
what are you drinking? This is tea, by the way. This is herbal tea. Right. So, but love your body back. So if it's time for you to love your body back, and working with Gineen for 12 weeks or whatever it aligns with you, please reach out. I've given her Facebook page is linked to all the pages. Again, a fantastic, beautiful, brilliant soul, and a mess to messenger, like most of us, coming from experience.
I love it.
Right.
I want to double check that we get something right though, Scotty. It says time for the number 4, the letter U, health, wellness. Is it health and wellness, or is it health wellness?
It wouldn't let me put the and in.
Oh, that it's right, because you said and I'm like, I want to make sure.
On Facebook, it wouldn't let me put the and in.
One of the things I've learned in co-hosting the show, Laura, while we're talking, I pull up actual Facebook and I actually make sure it works. And when it works, I just copy
good job.
Well, I ain't typing nothing. I'm just copying what works.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I've learned, because I've done it wrong a couple times. I forgot an S.
Yeah,
that's not a good link. So it's a copy paste link. So we should be in good shape.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for checking.
Well, I love seeing your posts on Facebook. They're
likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise. I always love your Monday chats. They're so fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
This has been a blast.
You guys are a lot of fun. So thanks for this, and thanks for the time to allow me to share, my story and just what I'm passionate about as well.
Yeah. No stuffy interviews.
No. I love it.
It's a celebration of people who have come alive and they're sharing their gift with the world, and we're here to amplify that message because we need more of that.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
You're
Gineen.
so welcome.
Yeah, see you
Have an
soon.
amazing day.
Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
Oh, so this is
Oh,
Friday. We're all done now. It's 4:04. Error.
Yeah. It's 4:04 error o'clock. Haha,
It's error
error o'clock.
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
This has been fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. I do have a personal training client coming up in 25 minutes, so I've got to be tight today in a sense, but it has
My
been
parents should
another-
walk in the door any second.
Yeah. It has been another amazing, wonderful, beautiful roller coaster day of exceptional human beings making the world better.
All messages have a place. So if you have found some messages, some people, some personalities, some offers that people have that align with you, please go reach out to them. Please take that next step, whatever that looks like for you, because we want you to elevate and amplify your message just as much as we want to amplify the messages of everyone who is here with us. And yeah, I totally agree, Coach Scotty. I don't get to miss you this time because I'm still doing a couple things with you for the next
I
little
know.
while.
We still got our program going, which is great. And
Yeah,
you know,
they're
I
my
think amplify your message is like a smorgasbord. You go to the great big table with all the foods on it and you try a little bit of 10 things.
Yep.
And then the one you really like, you go back and have more of that. And I feel like that's just this. Amplify your messages. It's been a smorgasbord of 45 minutes of a whole bunch of incredible people. And when you're listening to one and they're like, oh my gosh, they resonate so much with me. I want more of that one. Then off you go and change your life.
Definitely. The parents and the kid is here. So much love, everyone. And we will see you next time.
Yeah, I think we're probably coming up again in spring for another Amplify Your Message with Corey Poirier's Blue Talks. And I can't wait to serve the world again. Thank you, Laura, so much.
Bye.
Bye.